built a tower made of paper and lies, stacked it high with the liar's disguise. But the wind's picking up, gonna blow it all down. A reckoning's coming to this hollow town. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. They sold our steel, they stole our land, turned the worker into a begging hand. But the wheels are turning, the fire's alive. We're taking back what's rightfully mine. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do. Our work to do. Ghosts of the past whisper through the trees. Swamp runs deep, but it's begging to freeze. Freedom ain't given, it's a fight to the bone. Stand your ground or be overthrown. Tear it down, burn it up, let the light shine through. Trump's got the hammer, Musk lights the fuse. No more chains, no deep state blues. The eagle's screaming, we got work to do.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Did you have a good week? What's up, Dr. Jade?
Oh, crazy week, full of chaos.
I know. It's been a fire hose since like January 20th.
I mean, it just doesn't stop, does it?
I know. It's actually
I
pretty
mean,
awesome.
and yeah, I mean, just, I don't know, what the hell happens when you retire and you're busier than you ever thought you were?
We got
before?
work to do. I
Yeah,
know.
Anglo, you're
I
right.
know.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm
why am I-
working on a new intro because of the disagreements, if you will, between Trump and Musk. But I
Oh.
still like it. But I'm working on a new one. What's up, Streaky? What's up, Weak Greatness? Good to see you guys. Thanks for being here, everybody. We got like always, we got a fire hose of stuff going. Hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you, man. Let's see. Let's go
Yeah,
down.
there's so much happening.
Bobbity.
And how does that happen, man? You know, like I retire and now I'm busier than I ever was.
I know. Everybody I know says that. Oh, 07 is it's a salute. It's saying hi and you salute. Let's see. What do we got here? We're going to go over. These are the top stories. Matt Gaetz' warning. It's actually pretty good. Gingrich jumps in saying it's not going to be a forever war. And I know why they're waiting 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, I'll reveal that. Miranda Devine from New York Post. She wrote the Hunter Biden book. FBI emails revealed to the Post expose Biden's DOJ's obsession with piling on charges on Trump. Appeals court allows Trump. I didn't like this. Appeals court allows Trump to keep control of National Guard troops. No, the Constitution and the Congress allowed Trump to keep control of the National Guard troops. The Supreme Court had nothing to do with it. They just affirmed the Constitution. Here we go. White African farmers just got the last laugh. It's a pretty interesting story. The crazy lady, Jasmine Crockett, calls Trump supporters mentally ill, then demands bipartisanship in the next breath. Is that not the epitome of Democrats, Jade?
I don't try and figure them out anymore. They're just insane.
I know. It's like when they're in charge, it's like, hey, guys, can we have a little bit of bipartisanship? Go screw yourself. We won. But then the second they lose the majorities, they're like, oh, we got to have bipartisanship. We gave it to you. Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. They're in power. They tell you to go pound sand.
They asked Trump to explain the difference between 45 and 47. He was masterful. I was the hunted. Now I'm the hunter. It's so badass of this guy. And released docs. The Biden administration targeted law-abiding citizens as domestic terrorists. Like we didn't know that, right? BLM organization, they're still around, says white folks need to pay Juneteenth reparations as woke finances fizzle. No, I think the Democratic Party needs to pay Juneteenth reparations. White folks and America didn't put them in slavery. That was the Democratic Party. To ICE. They are resuming operations at farms, hotels, and will focus on criminals. Now, the whole story behind that, guys, is that they're saying, I did a video, as a matter of fact, this week saying that if Trump actually goes into a war with Iran, that he would lose his base. Oh, the MAGA people, we love him to death, but we would go, you know what? You campaigned on what we want, which is no more extended wars, forever wars. We don't want it. No more wars. However, this story here, the farms and hotels, it shows that Donald Trump actually listens to his constituents, to his supporters, because when they came out with the idea of, okay, we're going to hold off on farms and hotels going after them. We got plenty of other places we can go. And the MAGA people, the America First movement, came back thunderously saying, no, screw that. You're not giving in on anyone. Go after them. And within a week, he said, you know what? We're going to resume that because he listens. And you know what? He's not running again. I mean, yeah, he busted balls that he's going to run in 28, but he can't. You know, legally, he can't. He can make all the arguments he wants. He can't. And
no, he said that because he's the absolute goat of trolling.
Oh yeah. Now he does have a legal argument, though. Did they mean consecutive? I mean, if they can say, well, because the founders didn't write in the census clause that you have to be a citizen to be counted. Well, they in the amendment, it didn't say that it can't be consecutive or not. You know, I mean, we can play that stupid ass game too. And then we got the whole slew of the fire hose coming. So let's see. How's everybody doing, though? You guys have a good week. Jeremiah, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Paka, always good to see you, man. Awesome. Hey, everybody's here. Cool. Roger. Oh. All right. Red Pill for Rabbit is here. If you guys are into the whole Q thing. He's like famous in that world. Let's see who else. Yeah, Chris, I did say hi, but I wanted to highlight, man. What's going on, brother? It's good to see you. Let's see who else is here. Yeah, Jimmy may not make it tonight. We talked earlier. He called me. He said he has a couple things he has to take care of. He's like so close to getting out of where he's at. Because imagine this, guys. You guys that follow. Hey, what's up, Bass? Good to see you. For you guys that go to his streams all the time, you know that he was kind of pissed when he was managing that halfway house and he had his own bedroom and they tried to put someone else in with it. So now he's going to have 4 people in his room where he's at now. They have 2 beds and then they put a bunk bed in. So there's going to be 4 people. I think there's 3 already. They're going to put a 4th one in there. So he's like, I'm out of here. I got to get the hell out because he's got a decent job now. So I'm glad for him, but he's got to get the hell out. All right.
Hey, you guys, if you would reach down, hit the like button. It's appreciated.
Yeah, please do that. That would be nice. Yeah, hit that like button because it helps. Yeah, let's see. What else can we do? Let's run that one. Hey, nice. No. Let's see. We're going to do the first one. Matt Gaetz. This is actually pretty good. It's his warning.
Perch in the Pentagon and send out tweets, press releases, and blustered statements about war. Nobody is shooting missiles at you in a Fox News studio. People barely even shoot divergent opinions at you in that myopathy. That's the comfortable political move in the short term, to support regime change wars. But that comfort is not shared by those who have to go fight in these wars.
You know what? I'm such an idiot. How the hell did that? I didn't know that they kept it.
Israel didn't kick their regime change habit with Iraq or Libya or Syria, it seems. They need another fix. But Matt, this isn't a regime change war. It's about Iran's nuclear program. I wish that were true, but it's not.
You hear this?
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene opined that maybe Netanyahu is so feisty about regime change in Iran because he was facing regime change in Israel.
It's not being reported enough that on Thursday, they held a vote in the Knesset, and it was only by 2 votes that Netanyahu won. If he had lost, they would have had another election in Israel, and the polling shows that he would lose if an election were to occur today. That vote happened last Thursday. And then Friday, Israel attacked Iran. That's why the bombs are falling, and it seems very political.
Here's how you know this isn't about Iran's nuclear program. We aren't taking these steps to force denuclearization where the threat is higher and the leaders are even crazier. Take North Korea. North Korea's nuclear program is a far greater threat to the United States than Iran's. It is not even close. I know. I've had the briefings. I was on the House Armed Services Committee for 8 years.
See, the only difference that I would say on this so far, I agree with him, but there's one thing I disagree with him on. Iran has been out there the better part of 15 years saying that they want to remove Israel from the map. I don't know how they do that without burning all the Arab states around them, and wants to take out the big Satan, little Satan and big Satan. Guess who's big Satan? We are. They hate us more than Israel. Trust me. And all the intelligence reports say that. So they've been saying this over. In other words, my point is that they want the bomb because they want to use it. Most people want the bomb, like North Korea. Yeah, he rattles sabers because he wants things from the world, from the West, to settle them down. Money, whatever, food, whatever. But he doesn't say, I can't wait to launch a missile at you guys, right? Take your ass out. Iran does. Every day. Death to America, blah, 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 whatever the hell they say, right?
Iran has neither the bomb, the delivery system, nor the re-entry vehicle that you would need for any intercontinental ballistic missile launch and re-enter orbit. North Korea has all 3. North Korea could launch a nuclear weapon at mainland United States today. We've probably got the ability to knock it out of the sky, but Iran can't even get their bird in the air. Iran's death to America chant isn't really my bag, obviously, but Kim in the Hermit Kingdom points to U.S. cities like Los Angeles and San Diego and Seattle on maps, and he openly discusses wiping off major U.S. population centers from existence. Of course, we aren't looking to drop 100 bunker busters in the mountains of North Korea. President Trump took other brilliant diplomatic steps to constrain North Korea's hostilities. And the same could be done with Iran. But Matt, Iran has kicked out IAEA inspectors. There could be portions of their nuclear program that are secret. A nuclear secret in the Middle East. How about it? if the world is interested in a secret nuclear program in the Middle East, there is a country that won't allow any international inspectors. Israel. Israel has a nuclear weapon. Did you know that? I do.
Yeah.
They allow no inspections. They are fully secretive and clandestine about it. And
Do
the
we allow
Americans aren't
inspections?
fully aware. You know what? I don't even blame Israel for this. If they want to develop a nuclear weapon, if they had the blessing to do so secretly, I'm not in judgment of that. But to drag the world into a regime change war over secret nuclear weapons, when you have secret nuclear weapons, is a bit hypocritical. President Trump is the kind of guy who never gives up on a deal. Throughout his life, he's probably made deals
Hey, what's up,
and
Lou?
made lots of money on them, even
see you,
when
man.
others walked away or didn't see value in a
Be
transaction.
right back again. I'm sorry.
So here's the deal. How about Iran and Israel both give up their secret nuclear weapon programs? If Trump got that deal, he wouldn't only get the Nobel Peace Prize, they'd probably name it the Trump Peace Prize forevermore. And it's not that crazy to think about Israel denuclearizing. Look at the model in South Africa. South Africa denuclearized right before they stopped being an apartheid state. Prominent voices in Israel and America have called for Trump to recognize Israel's sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, which some people call the West Bank. If that happens, Israel will have to let the 5 to 6 million people who live there vote. And they don't want to do that. I'm not calling Israel an apartheid state. Right now, I don't think they are. But if they are ruling the West Bank, as the neocons would suggest, then the South Africa model for denuclearization is not totally off base. There's a certain bravado at the beginning of a Middle East regime change war. There's enthusiasm, bold predictions of swift victory, and
Linda.
usually a total
on?
misunderstanding of what happens next. And the leading voice championing
I do
regime
too.
change wars for decades has been Fox News.
We must do the right thing. Saddam is evil and a threat to the world. He must go. We should have just taken 1441 and rammed it down Saddam's throat. It is dangerous to allow an evil dictator to remain in power. Now, if you want a chance that Saddam would never use those deadly weapons, that is your right in a free society, and I respect that right. But I don't want a chance that. Saddam Hussein is the largest army in the Middle East, all right? He has developed these weapons for no purpose. He doesn't need them
really
defensively.
picking on him,
All
aren't
right,
they?
he doesn't need them at all. He's used them, as you know, all right? And he's invaded 2 other countries. But this isn't enough for you to have him removed. I think you're dead wrong. I don't think that there's any reason on this earth that that man should remain in power. In the end, Saddam will be removed from power, and the world will be a better place.
Tragically,
you missed the
we
mark
will
on
lose
that
American
one.
lives, but it will be brief. We're going to find out massive evidence of weapons of mass destruction.
I am confident that all those things that you predict are going to come true, and a lot of people that have been laying out the case against us are going to be very embarrassed.
Iraqi regime did not and has not disarmed. Saddam Hussein is deemed by the White House a threat to American national security, a brutal, murderous dictator, and a menace to the world. It is the hope of the administration and the goal of the war planners that disarmament and regime change be accomplished as swiftly as practical. Some number of our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters will give their lives for the cause of freedom.
Things that we haven't seen in the past, very accurate weapons, very lethal. The Moab is a daisy cutter on steroids, and Iraq is not prepared for what's going to be thrown at them.
Oh, Iraq wasn't prepared. Daisy cutter?
One more time.
This is how easily the so-called foreign policy experts believed we would carve our way through Iraq. I saw how many of our bravest patriots were pushing up daisies as a consequence of that war. I went to their funerals. I visited their grave sites. I saw the true cost of a flawed regime change war in the Middle East. The problem is we had no plan to get out. Iraq cost America $3 trillion, and this distraction and disaster aided in both the rise of China and ISIS. Whoever was telling you that we had the ability to topple a regime in Iraq and then come out with something better was either 1, lying to you, or 2, so wholly ignorant about the country they were invading that their lack of knowledge or curiosity or understanding led to blood and terrorism and chaos. So as we approach the 2025 vintage of regime change wars in Iran, I wonder if those now cheerleading attacks on Iran know anything about the country they want to topple.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. at all?
Yeah, this was
No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
Wow.
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
I'll tell you what, Tucker is busting everyone's balls these days.
Why is it relevant whether it's,
because
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that
because if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay,
I
am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
It's easy to sit in a senator's office or perch in the Pentagon and send out tweets, press releases, and blustered statements about war. Nobody is shooting missiles at you in a Fox News studio. People barely even shoot divergent opinions at you in that myopathy. That's the comfortable political move in the short term, to support regime change wars. But that comfort is not shared by those who have to go fight in these wars and die in them, and many will.
Yeah, sorry guys.
You know,
the reason I kept leaving, let me say this. The reason I kept leaving, right before the show, I took some niacin and I got the flush and it was burning the living hell out of me. So I had to go and take care of that. Sorry.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I like Matt Gaetz.
Exactly.
I think he's very, very smart.
Oh, yeah. I like Matt
several things. I hadn't really thought of it, but yeah. I mean, we don't know if Israel has a nuclear weapon or weapons. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Actually, we do. We do know they have them.
Well, no, when you ask them officially, do you have nuclear weapons? They say, we have no opinion on the horse.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, bottom line is he's right. Wouldn't it be completely awesome if you could get the whole Middle East denuclearized?
I'm doing a chunk yogurt. How's that, Bobby?
Well, he flushes all the time. So
does he? Oh, I didn't know.
Hey, he's got this red face. You ever see the size of the guy?
Not really.
And
well,
the big difference, North Korea and Israel, or North Korea and Iran are completely different. North Korea is kind of like the bump on the butt of China. And if we ever tried to do anything there, so politically, that's very, very different. But yeah, what if we could get Iran to give up nuclear weapons and Israel to give up nuclear weapons?
Right.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, but it's never going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I don't know. Like I said, other regimes that get nukes, they don't get them just to use them. I mean, China's an evil regime too. They're not using them. They're not. They didn't say we want them so we can blow up the world.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Iran comes out every day saying "Death to America, death to Israel."
Well, she's American now.
You think I sound like a New Yorker? Oh,
it sounds more like a New Yorker than Canadian-born. Well, she's an American now.
I am American.
Thank you very much. Well, you were American technically when you were Canadian too, because it's all North America. But still, all right. Let's do. I'm going to skip Newt. Here we go. This is Miranda Devine, New York Post. FBI emails revealed to the Post exposed Biden's DOJ's obsession with piling on Trump charges. That is. So we knew this, but now we have confirmation. Internal FBI emails reveal that rogue agents, and let me tell you something, if the DOJ went after either Obama or went after Biden for real crimes, not the bullshit that they threw at Trump, right, the lawfare, oh, they would scream bloody, this is unprecedented, it's never happened before, right? Internal FBI emails reveal that rogue agents and prosecutors in the Biden DOJ were looking for ways to pile on new criminal charges against Donald Trump over the January 6th Capitol riot, this time over his involvement with the J6 prisoner choir based on a single partisan news article. The 2020, they did, guys, we know it. They did everything they possibly could to harm his chances of winning again. The 2023 emails obtained by Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, who I like a lot, he's always been a hawk against government corruption, and revealed exclusively to the Post, are an example of the nitpicking malice of anti-Trump lawfare that tainted Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation during Joe Biden's presidency. Quote, "Can we do some work to nail down Trump's role in this?" writes prosecutor J.P. Cooney to DOJ colleagues on March 8th, 2023, in an email with the subject line J6 prisoner choir/DJT and an attached Forbes.com article titled Trump collaborates on song with J6 defendants. Well, you think about it, they didn't like that because they know that most of those defendants did nothing wrong. I mean, sure, they entered the building, but when the Capitol Police opened the door and wave you in, what did you do wrong? Well, they weren't supposed to be there. Well, when the cops tell you you can come in and they go around and take selfies, they get 10 years. Come on, please. According to
when they wouldn't get rowdy enough, the at least 24 FBI confidential informants and regular police and the regular police, mixed them up to make sure they would get upset. They started firing rubber bullets at them, and the informants, confidential human resources, they call them. And they've admitted there was at least 24 of them in the crowd stirring shit up.
Yeah. Oh, I know. According to this Forbes article, Trump recorded the Pledge of Allegiance at Mar-a-Lago, and Kash Patel, now the FBI director, and Ed Henry, former Fox News host, were also involved. Ooh, no, a Fox News host.
Oh, wait. That's got to be some sort of capital offense.
Yeah,
saying the Pledge of Allegiance and recording it.
Yeah, your mic is going in and it's like it's burping. It's going. It's making weird noises. I don't know if anybody else. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Do I have to sign out and come back in again?
Yeah, maybe. I'll look for you.
All right, I'll be back.
All right. So every one of these rogue agents should be prosecuted. Yeah, they should be. They should at least be fired. But yeah, I don't like Islam. Neither do I. But I'm on the side of Iran. The history of the country is amazing. Yeah, it is. But they got really shitty leaders right now, because their leaders say we want to kill everybody in the West. That's what they want to do. And the fact of the matter, did you watch my video this week, Streaky? It was on how Ilhan Omar just came out and said nobody from Iran has ever attacked or is attacking anyone in America. Like no Americans, right? Not in America, no Americans. And I went through a litany of attacks and over 600 Americans murdered by Iranians. So, I mean, they're full of shit. So I don't support them pretty much. In who gives a shit?
And I
don't think the CIA put the Ayatollah Khomeini in there. The Ayatollah Khomeini got in there because that Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter brought the Shah of Iran over here. And he was warned not to do it. But he did. He brought the Shah over, and the religious zealots, the nuts over there, they didn't like the Shah because he tried to Americanize Iran. He tried to Americanize them, and they didn't want that shit. Now, the people there didn't really care. If you spoke to the people there, they loved America. You would ask them in the 40s, 50s, and even early 60s, you would say, who's your favorite country? They'd say, oh, the United States, Americans. We love them. And so the Shah wants to Americanize, if you will. He wants to bring in, highways, hospitals, schools, like everything that Western countries have. The problem with it was that Iran, even though they're Persians, they live a lot like Arabs over there, whereas they have tribes, and one tribe's more important than the other. One tribe has more money than the other. And so they couldn't get the contracts for all this construction and building properly, because they fought amongst themselves. And with all that chaos going on for, business, contracts, whatever, and people trying to get work and all, with all that going on, then the Islamists came in and said, well, you know what, we're going to end all that if you put us in. And then all of a sudden they became a theocracy, and they didn't like that shit. But what I'm hearing now is, if the reports are correct, but who the hell knows? Yeah, exactly, Jeremiah. I'm on Jesus' side too. But the fact of the matter is what I heard was that the military supports the current regime now, before they were a little on the fence, like 2 years ago. They support him now, and that the people they're rallying behind their administration, their people. They're rallying behind them. So it's not like before when we could have helped them overthrow the government without firing a shot. But I didn't think they should have taken Gaddafi out, but they did because he wanted to. He said he would only accept gold as payment anymore for his oil, and so that's why they took him out. But I mean, the man, right before they took him out, he had just spent, what was it, like $14 billion on infrastructure for his people. So he was not like treating his people like crap the way that they said he was. Yeah, they had secret police over there and all that, like all these other rogue nations, but he was spending money for the country and for his people. So they wanted him out. And if they say otherwise, they're lying to you. They wanted him out because they feared the fiat money system was going to be overtaken. Let me see. If someone came to our country and attacked, let's be real, would we would rally? Yeah, we did after 9/11. For about 5 minutes, Democrats said they loved the country. Remember that? That's something to remember. That was a whole 5 minutes, Jade. A whole 5 minutes. They loved the country.
Yeah, maybe 10. Maybe 10.
I don't know about that. That's going a little too far. But for
going
5
a little
minutes,
too far for Democrats. Yeah. Did you include in your how's the headset, by the way? Am I better?
I'm still hearing it.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you fine, but there's like this little. We'll just listen to it. Who cares?
Yeah. Anyway, Iran. Somebody pointed out. I think it was Streaky Bacon pointed out. Yeah, they got a great history. If they would just behave like human beings, and their only, not have their only thought be death to America, death to Israel.
Right.
And that's one thing I hope for Trump, because, oh my God, what is this guy? The guy is the ultimate deal maker. So as long as you stop chanting death to America, we can work together. And it's a great,
The thing is, hold on, Anglo. I hear you. I'm sorry, Anglo. The thing we always hear, it's always about regime change. No, there's always another underlying reason, and the CIA has many of them. But regime change, I ask people, and I know you're not saying this, but I ask people like, how's that working? Bush thought that if we brought democracy over there, that they would be like kind people. And the argument was because no democratically elected nation ever went to war, like a real kinetic war with another democratic. Okay, so how did that work? It didn't. You can't democratize the people, the Arab Muslims in the Middle East. You can't do it. Oh, yeah, they stole it. Oh, they absolutely stole it. 'Cause, I mean, there's stuff out now that we're going to read about it, that Kash Patel put out, that they absolutely stole it, and the Chinese helped them. The Chinese put out, I think it was 100,000. They manufactured in China and mailed them to us. They manufactured 100,000 American driver's licenses.
Yeah, and ballots. They were printing ballots.
So authentic. All right. And what they were going to do is use those like the Democrats do. They were going to hand them over to the Democrats so that they could use them to request mail-in ballots. Now you go, well, what's 100,000? Well, there were several states that were won by 4,000 votes. Out of that 100,000, you could get several of those states to go your way. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, it was a regime.
No, we're not told on war this time. No, hold on. Streaky. No. I'm sorry, Jade. Streaky. No. The America First movement is telling Donald Trump, fuck you, no wars. We don't want it. And he's going to listen. He will, I think. All right, the whole reason why they said, I'll give you my answer on what we're going to do on Iran in 2 weeks. Because he is asking all of his people, can we take out the bunkers? Is it possible? And how probable is it? I don't give a shit who gets hurt, but can we do it? Will we be successful? Because if we try to take those out and we fail,
oh boy,
Trump loses everything that he just worked for. Everything.
Oh, and if Trump puts boots on the ground,
it won't happen.
That's it. I
think he's not going to. I know he's not going to.
A lot of his supporters would turn their back.
I don't know about that. I've seen a lot more evil. Yeah, let me tell you something, Lou. I saw more people murdered by the atheists in the 20th century than any other time. By a single group. By a single group.
Communism.
Yeah,
it's called communism.
Yeah, the communists. Yeah, the atheists.
Communists.
Well, they were the atheists, if you will. Yeah. For the shekel. Infidels. We hate them precious. The infidels. Yeah. All right. So I was reading something, wasn't I? The profits are routed to an LLC run by Henry, and proceeds are intended for families of incarcerated J6 defendants. But there is apparently a vetting process that excludes families of defendants who assaulted police officers. Okay. I asked Ahmed, guilty, likely prosecutor Ahmed Bassett, who was fired earlier this month, to preserve this last night. I'll talk to Maria Aaron and Julia about doing so and some follow-up. Cooney also instructed colleagues to look at starting some process on Ed Henry's LLC. In other words, they were going to mess with the Fox guy because he was doing, and he did it on his own time. He didn't do it on Fox News here. He didn't do that. Presumably a legal process such as a subpoena, search warrant, or other court-authorized actions to gather evidence. His email was forwarded to 8 agents and DOJ staff. Guys, this is like completely counter to the mission of the FBI, including notorious anti-Trump FBI Special Agent Walter Giardino, who responded 2 days later to say he was investigating the claims in the Forms article about Trump and the J6 prisoner choir. Esther and I are working on this today. We're going to put together our findings at 2 and get something to you shortly after that. In other words, these SOBs were doing... They're the ones that talk about, it's a threat to our democracy, all right? He's the one that does that shit all the time. They do, the left. But yet, look at the stuff that they've done. They put Steve Bannon in prison because a unconstitutional select committee on J6 threw a subpoena at him, and he called executive privilege, which was absolutely lawful, legal, and everything. And they threw his ass in prison for that. Look at this shit they did to J6 people. The shitty conditions that they had to live through. For what? For what? Because they wanted to politicize it, and none of it worked anyway. He's back in office. So, I mean, these people, really, I mean, I'm not one to say, hey, what's up, Liam? How you doing? Hey, Sheila, what's going on? Let me see. I also have many complaints about organized religion, but Mao killed tens of millions by himself. Yeah. Yeah. I think they killed over 250 million people in the 20th century alone. And they're all atheist socialists to the extreme. For reals. All right. Let me clear some of these. All right.
Yeah, I remember,
What's
Uncle
that?
Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
Joe Stalin. He was responsible.
Between 65 and 85 million of his own people.
Yeah. If he didn't like the look of you, there's a story that goes that one of his generals came in and they couldn't find, like somehow they were missing like 5,000 men.
Yeah.
Most of them officers. And Stalin says, oh, I had them killed.
Yeah. Let me
Just
find
like
the
that.
one thing. Let me see. Yeah, we had one. There was one thing. Hang on. Cato Institute, I believe it was. Did it. Nah, where the hell is it? 100 Years of Communism. Is this it? Maybe Reason Magazine did it. Let me see. Yeah, there was mega murders, democide, and deca murders. Here we go. This is it. Let's just get through this. Ready? Okay, so table 1. Mega murders, over 1 million victims. That was regimes, democide, 0, summary. Okay. Deca murders, over 10 million victims. People's Republic of China, Mao, right? Million people murdered. Mao et al. Communist regime. Does not include 3.5 million murders by Chinese communists during 27 to 49 Civil War. It also, it doesn't include people who died from wars that the communists started. This is just their own people. The Soviet Union, right? From 1917 to 1987, 61.9 million people murdered. Their own people. Communist regime includes 54.8 million within the Soviet Union, plus 6.9 million in areas conquered by the USSR. Joseph Stalin's reign, his rule, 29 to 53, accounts for 43. I thought he was up to like between 65 and 85. This may be old too, this data. On an annualized basis, the pre-Stalin regime founded by Lenin was more murderous than the post-Stalin one. Holy crap. Germany, 33 to 45, the Nazis. Million people murdered. National Socialism, Germany, and the Nazis includes Hitler's regime's murders throughout occupied Europe. Does not include World War II battle deaths. Right. China, again, 28 to 49, 10.1 million people murdered. The Kuomintang Party, although the party was originally Leninist in orientation, I did not count them as communist total. Mega murders, over 1 million. Japan, 6 million. China, 3.5 million. Cambodia, 1.5 million. Turkey, yeah. Turkey, 1.9 million. They were military dictatorships. They were all communists. Killings of the Armenians and other Christians. Vietnam, 1.7 million. Okay, includes 1.1 million in Vietnam and 0.6 in Laos and Cambodia. Poland, thank you, Soviet Union, 1.6 million. Pakistan, 1.5 million. Yugoslavia, thank you, Soviets, 1.1 million. Suspected mega murders, data are less certain, so estimates are rougher. North Korea, 1.7 million. Mexico, 1.4 million people murdered. Porfirio Diaz, authoritarian regime till 1911. Revolutionary regimes and warlords thereafter. Deaths of Indians and peons? Holy crap. On slave labor haciendas, plus massacres of civilians and conscription into slave labor by various forces in the civil wars of 1911 to 20. Then we got Russia, the Bolsheviks, 1.1 million. Table 2. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Yeah, we had the Crusades, but everybody loves, well, the Crusades, man. Well, the Crusades were the Holy Land had been conquered by the Christians, and the Muslims, by war, took it back, slaughtered everybody, took it back. Well, didn't take it back, they took it. And the Crusades were when the Christians said, no, we're taking the land back. You got to stop killing people, right? Charlemagne, the whole 9 yards, right? So, I mean, I'm just saying, yes, people were killed because of nutty religious shit. Like you got Islam, but I don't consider Islam a religion. I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying that, but I don't. I think it is a totalitarian system that was used to control the people. And
it's a death cult.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. I never thought it was a religion, and the reason why, if you think about all religion, even Buddhism, right? If you think about all religions, like the major ones, right? Their whole thing is to get you closer to the deity, to God. You act like Jesus, right? The Jews, you act like God, right? Be closer to God, right? Islam is about Islam means to submit, right? It's about your submission to Islam. It's not your submission to Allah. That's not the number one rule, or even Muhammad, the prophet, right? It's you submit to Islam itself. Let me see. Why don't you look certain tribe? Fascinating, the Islamic invasion into your. Say this again. Why don't you look at a certain tribe who was so? It's probably the Jews, because we know you're an anti-Semite. That's fine. You can do that and be here, but I'm not going off scale here. We got things. Let me see. Hold on. It's a religion of peace. Well, it is. Let me say this. When they say Islam is a religion of peace, it's the same thing as when a U.S. Marine says my rifle is an instrument of peace. Because in Islam, what they mean by that is when we kill all the infidels, we will have peace. And Islam is the instrument we will use to do that. That literally, because the guy that was the number 2 in Al-Qaeda wrote a book. And in the book, because he said, everybody wants me to write it. The guy was a medical doctor, too. She said, piece of ass. Yeah. Yeah, with the noticing. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. I sniffed half an hour ago. My husband hit me. Oh, man. All right. Back to it. Let's see. I want to do, the appeals court. This one's going to be good. Because you had that smarmy ass Gavin Newsom saying, rightfully, I'm back in charge. Yeah, well, guess what? You're not. So it's basically a judge. The appeals court said, no, Trump gets it. So judge asked if troops in Los Angeles are violating Posse Comitatus Act. All right, California's challenge. Let me bring it up. California's challenge of the Trump administration's military deployment in Los Angeles returned to a federal courtroom in San Francisco on Friday for a brief hearing after an appeals court handed President Trump a key procedural win. U.S. District Judge Charles Breyer put off issuing any additional rulings and instead asked for briefings from both sides on whether the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits troops from conducting civilian law enforcement. But see, that's the thing. They weren't doing civilian law enforcement. They were acting as sentries. They were building a wall so that the law enforcement, the civilian side, federal, right, ICE, so that they could do their freaking job without having Molotov cocktails thrown at them.
Yeah, they were just protecting federal officers.
Right. So it says here, Newsom said in his complaint that violation of the Posse Comitatus Act is imminent, if not already underway. Well, he's a freaking liar. But Breyer last week postponed considering that allegation. Now, Breyer eventually, I knew it because of who his brother was, but he eventually said, yeah, give it back to Newsom, right? Well, an appellate court said the hearing comes a day after the Ninth Circuit appellate panel allowed the president to keep control of National Guard troops he deployed in response to protests over immigration raids. Yes, the president of the United States has total 100% authority to protect federal property and federal personnel. The appellate decision halted a temporary restraining order from Breyer, who I think is a scumbag, just like his brother, who found Trump acted illegally when he activated the soldiers over opposition from California Governor Gavin Newsom. Wrong. He's the commander-in-chief, and he can take over the National Guard by law. Vice President J.D. Vance was traveling to L.A. on Friday to meet with U.S. Marines who also have been deployed to protect federal buildings, his office announced. Exactly. They're not there to go door to door and start arresting people.
My favorite part of this whole thing was when Gavin came out and said, by no later than noon tomorrow, I will have the...
Yeah, he demanded 2-hour turnaround from the judge.
No, it was after that, but he said, by noon tomorrow, I will have the control of the National Guard transferred back to me.
Yeah, I know. And then he stood there. Oh, the courts have spoken. Here's one. Get this, guys. Tell me God's not involved. All right, ready? Powerful 5.2 magnitude earthquake strikes near Iran's Semnan. I guess it's Semnan. I don't want to say it the other way. A 5.2 strikes in the south. Okay, ready? And apparently Trump said this was God's way of saying they got to stop it. You know he was going to say that, right?
Yeah, if you be careful how you say the name of that city, will be thinking you're talking about bodily fluids.
I know. That's what I said. I don't want to say it the other way. So a powerful earthquake struck near Iran's Semnan. I'm just going to say it that way, sending tremors through the region. According to reports from the GFZ, a magnitude 5.2 earthquake occurred around 35 kilometers southwest of Semnan at 5:49 local time. The earthquake's depth was recorded at 10 kilometers, indicating a relatively shallow tremor that could possibly cause major damage. That's God saying, watch out, you. I'm looking at you. I just love to rub this shit in. As news of the earthquake spreads, concerns are growing about the potential impact on the region. Semnan, a city in northeastern Iran, is known for its rich history and cultural importance. The earthquake's epicenter, located near the city, raises concerns about damage to historical sites and infrastructure. While details about injuries or damage are still emerging, of course, it just happened. The region's vulnerability to seismic activity heightens the stakes. Let's see if they say anything about Trump. No, they don't. Okay, so say a prayer for people there. Say a prayer for the people there that they don't get, that they're all right. But the government should have been in the middle of that.
Pretty funny.
Defend equality. Let's see. Radical Christian terrorism. World War I, World War II, slavery. Japanese internment. Well, Japanese internment camp was the Democratic Party. It had nothing to do with Christianity. It had to do with that. Gaza genocide. You're full of shit. What does Christian terrorism have to do with Gaza, Nelson? Tell me that, Nelson. What does it have to do with that? The Holocaust. The Germans weren't Christians. Somewhere, but not the Nazis and all that. And so much more. Okay, whatever. It would be superfluous, Bobbity. That's the point, Lovey. Oh, we're having a relationship going on here. All right, let's see. So we're going to do the white African thing now. This is actually a pretty good story. Okay, here we go. Now, you know how for years now, the communists, and I'll just say they're black, okay? The communist leaders have been illegally taking land from the farm owners, and then they become a shithole, okay, in no time. White African farmers just got the last laugh. This is a great story, right? Here's a story you won't see in the mainstream media cover ever. The white African farmers, once demonized and stripped of their land and livelihoods under Robert Mugabe's Marxist dictatorship in Zimbabwe, didn't just vanish into thin air. These fighters packed up, crossed the border, and rebuilt. And guess what? They're doing amazing. If you don't recall, back in the early 2000s, Zimbabwe's government kicked off a so-called land reform plan that drove white farmers off their land, often violently, and handed them over to black Zimbabweans. Roughly about 4,000 white farmers were forced out, and many were attacked or killed. And right on, like, it's not enough that they go, all right, get off your land, get out of here, right? No, they got to kill them. And right on cue, once they were gone, the country's farming industry went down the tubes. It got so bad that now, years later, Zimbabwe is actually paying those same white farmers for the buildings and equipment that they lost. So what happened to those white farmers? Well, many made their way to Zambia, which is just due north of Zimbabwe and right next door to South Africa. You got to love it. The government opened its arms, and as a result, Zimbabwe went from Africa's breadbasket to a starving wasteland. Zimbabwe saw an opportunity, keep skilled, hardworking people on the land and feed the nation. You got to love that. So let's go down. It says, for several years, I've been vetting, or no, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? I guess that's the end. I thought it was longer than that. But so in other words, they screwed themselves by their racist bullshit, their racist Marxist bullshit. The government in South Africa screwed themselves. So now we're gonna pick on another racist, and that would be Jasmine Crockett. So here you go. You can't make this shit up. Jasmine Crockett calls Trump supporters mentally ill, then demands bipartisanship in the next rant, actually. Democratic Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett called President Donald Trump supporters mentally ill just moments before calling for bipartisanship to oppose him. Now, she probably, and the rest of the usual suspects on that side, probably see nothing wrong with that. Well, what's wrong with that? We called for bipartisanship. Yeah, if you basically insulted everyone you want to be bipartisan with you. During an episode of Next Question with Katie Couric, how does she still have a job? The journalist asked Crockett to weigh in on the Los Angeles riots, opposing immigration raids, and Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard and U.S. Marines in response. So she's saying that the MAGA people are mentally ill. Is she saying they're mentally ill because they support Donald Trump enforcing the law and getting illegal aliens, criminal, violent illegals out of the country? Now, who the F is, think about it, who are the ones that are mentally ill in this case? So let's hear what she has.
I want to talk to you about some of the things that are going on in this country, Jasmine, before you go. What do you think about what has happened in LA and calling up the National Guard, the Marines, and basically saying this could happen in every state in our country?
I truly have no words. You grow up as a little girl, and you grow up as a little girl in this country. Let me clarify that. and you think, man, this is a great place to live and it's only going to get better. And then you become the adult version of me, and you have a president that is openly just a criminal, like not just the convictions he's got, consistently breaking laws, ignoring court orders, violating the Constitution.
Sure.
And doing it all because he really is seeking this retribution that he campaigned on. He said, I will be your retribution. And so this idea that we don't care how many people get hurt, we don't care how we prostitute our service members, you know, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick. And so, you know, we've got a mental health crisis in this country, because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself.
You know, there's body language people say that when you're looking up to the left, you're bullshitting. You're lying. Because looking up to the left triggers your brain for trying to come up with a lie real quick.
Should be against Trump, period. This is not partisan for me. Like, I would give anything to have, sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays.
The regular Republicans are why we're in the shit that we're in now, because they actually help Democrats destroy the country. And that's what she doesn't like. They like the world where her constituents get money from the government, but the government doesn't have any of their own money. They don't sell a product or a service that people want to buy. They don't make money. They take it from us forcefully. And that's what she's used to. And Trump is ending all that.
And I would be happy. But right now we have someone who does not care. And he is being enabled by the fact that there are, you know, people that follow him and they pump him up, as well as the people that are surrounding him. And so, you know, my heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to.
They absolutely love Trump.
To protect
the overwhelming majority.
Freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now literally the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander in chief.
Where did they, guys, where did she come up with something like that? She's basically saying that now people that signed up to join the military are just so disgusted with their commander in chief. Yeah, the guy that raised their pay, that brought people back, that the regime before this administration threw them out for not taking the jab. I mean, where do these people? She's calling them mentally ill, yet she just pulled this out of her ass. I mean, think about it.
It really,
go ahead.
And you know, the military hates Trump. That's why, with the changes he's instituted, recruitment has gone through the roof.
Exactly. I mean, you're exactly right. Perfect point.
It really breaks my heart, and I don't know how far
guys, this is what I've said before. This is called performative truth. Objective truth is when you can say something because what you're saying, there has been at least all of it or half of it or some of it that has already been proven true with evidence. Okay. So it's 32. It's cold outside. Why? Because the thermometer says it's 32 degrees. I always use that example, right? Performative truth is because you make the declaration, that's your truth. That's it. That's your science. That's your truth. It was the most pristine election we ever had. Well, bullshit. You know, and yet because they said it, well, that's what she's doing here, Jade. She's saying, well, you know, I feel bad for the people in the military. Why? Well, because, you know, they're just really disgusted with their commander-in-chief. No, you pretty much made that up. Yep. That's performative truth. And now, and you know what happens? The problem with performative truth is that all the eggheads in the fake news media, they hear like a Jasmine Crockett say that, and then they'll start questioning other guests down the line about that. So when the military, we know that the military is pretty disgusted with their commander-in-chief, and they just act like it's a truth, but it's performative. Go ahead, Jade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it just reminds me of the FBI when basically the FBI leaked stories to the media, and then used those stories as a basis to get the FISA warrants.
FISA warrants, yeah. That they did that.
They used
really
their
did.
own leaked information. Here's our proof. It's in the New York Times.
I know. Yeah, let's 8 more
It
seconds.
has to go before we can come together and just say enough is enough. Like, this should not be partisanship.
It shouldn't be partisanship, yet you just made it partisanship. Guys, she is a freaking lunatic, and she is on the verge right now of being the face of the party. She really is, because they don't really have anyone else.
Listen, 2028, I want to see AOC and Jasmine Crockett.
That would be a hell of a ticket, wouldn't it?
I'll donate to their primary campaigns.
It would be J.D. Vance and Rubio would have to have one hand tied behind their back and half their brain tied behind their back just to make it fair.
And a ball gag.
Yeah, just to make it fair.
Yeah.
Ball gag, really? Okay. It's 2 Celsius there? Oh, wow. Bill Hicks. Mirren Chuckrade. Okay, whatever that is. Mirren. Let me see. Hold on.
You want to talk about
Waco Siege, Marion County record. Let me see. GTA Online event.
What are you looking for?
What's the this guy Bill Hicks? Hey, Bill. Said by raid. Hold on. I mean, I'm here. Oh, there you go. All right. Good to see you, man. Thank you for being here. I haven't seen you before. Welcome. Rich, the day is coming where the communist left has their foundational harangue of race and slavery is, whoa, where'd you go? Is displaced by a socially acceptable slave class of AI robots with bipedal bodies. 5 years, 7? Yeah, I hear you. Jade, we lost you. You should go out and come back. I'll pull you in. Let's see. What else are we going to do? Hoi. Guys, my UK friends, tell me, what does, I understand how you use the term Hoyt. Does it mean hello? And where did it, I like the origins of things. Where did it come from? Tell me. Hey, Dawn, what's up? Good to see you. Houston, we have a problem. Yeah. I don't know where she's at. All right. Let me pick another one. Let's see. Yeah, this is a great one line. Oh, there she is. There you are. I didn't boot you.
Okay. I got to reset my headphones. Yeah. When I get I had an incoming call, and that always disrupts the connection to the stream.
Cool. Thank you, Bess. I appreciate it. All right, let's see. Where'd you guys come from? Whose stream? I'll be watching 42 tomorrow night. I'll be on his show at the end. When the hell am I going to be on his show? Next week. Next Saturday, 28th. Oh, she's gone again. Down she went. Yeah, I'll be on 42 next Saturday. So you guys, I know you're all going to be there, but please be there and bring friends. Let's see. So I'm gonna wait for Jade to get in. It's a Dangerfield thing. Oh, okay, cool. Field Marshal and saluted me with the 07 with Hoyt. All right. Very cool. What's up, Chris? Yeah, man. South Philly. Representing, right? I think my brother's in South Philly now. He's trying to move out. He got a job near me. And trying to find him a place. But all right, so oh well. She's probably rebooting, so I'll bring her in when I see her. Okay, here we go. Let's go over this. This is pretty good. Ready? Donald Trump says, I was the hunted, Now I'm the hunter, explaining 45 to 47 difference. That's great. I'm going to keep checking back to see if it comes in. President Donald Trump spoke to reporters Wednesday morning during a visit to the South Lawn of the White House, where workers were preparing to install one of 2 new flagpoles funded personally by the president. Let's hear this. This has got. No, it's nothing. Why did they put that up there? Hold on. So let me go. Oh, there she is. There you are.
Yeah, I got this
You're
thing.
back.
I don't know why, but whenever I get an incoming call, it
Right.
disrupts my connection to StreamYard.
Oh, is that what it is? All right. Well, somebody must have been calling the hell out of you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I just got 2 calls in a row, and I went to answer them, and nobody's there. I figured I get cut off from StreamYard. I may as well answer that damn phone call. So hopefully it doesn't happen again.
These guys are nuts tonight. I love you guys. Yeah, every one of you guys in the chat, man. You guys help. You guys make the show. I'm telling you. So let's read this. Are we on there? Yeah. Well, let's watch it. So they were asking him, what's the difference between 45 and 46?
Give you the idea to do this.
I've had it for a long time. The first time I had it, you guys were after me. I said I had to focus. I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference. Big difference.
That's the warning shot.
Yeah, every time Trump impresses me, he's a rock.
He is.
He
really is.
And as much as I like Elon Musk, I mean, he's got a few emotional things, and he's a bit childish. So
yeah. Well, he's on the spectrum, so
and just this latest thing with the childish blow up. The thing is, Trump again was a rock. He just said, "No, this is what I want." Well, you know why Elon was so pissed off.
Yes,
because Trump didn't put in the NASA administrator that he wanted.
Yeah, we talked about that last week or the week before.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, but Trump. I always say this: Trump's not an emotional guy. If you ever watch, they say, "Oh, he's very emotional. He's a child." No. The fact of the matter is, Trump is transactional. He'll try something. If it works, he's happy. If it doesn't work, he goes, "Okay, we tried that. Let's try something else." He doesn't get emotional.
Yeah, he'll try different things, but
everything is a transaction to him. Everything.
Yeah,
and that's what we needed right now.
But he knows what he wants and what should happen.
Yep.
And he's a rock. He's been saying the same thing since.
Well, the big thing now is what they're doing. And it's just I have a James Carville video for you to watch. And I hope I don't get in trouble for it, but it's James Carville, right? But they're now trying to say that Trump has a cognitive decline issue. Okay? And these are the same MFers that lied about Joe Biden with his warm diarrhea brains, for 4 freaking years. What's that? Cool. Yeah, and they're the same ones that lied about that. Administration target. We already did that one. Wait, folks. Operations. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do this one because I want to make that point again for people that weren't here. Not that they listened to me. So, Epoch Times, Epic Times. ICE to resume operations at farms, hotels, but will focus on criminals. The border czar says ICE would focus on illegal immigrants with a criminal nexus of trafficking. I like how they wrote that. A criminal nexus of trafficking, of forced labor, of tax fraud, or tax evasion. The reason I think this is an important headline is because I did a video last week or this week saying that if Trump goes to war in Iran, like a long, protracted war in the Middle East, that he will lose his base. It will screw up our economy. It'll screw up all the alliances he just made. It'll screw it. It really will, because they emphatically said no new wars. You campaigned on no new wars. We know you did. But this right here, I was reminded when I saw this. What happened was the Trump administration said, okay, we're not going to focus right now on farms and hotels, because they figured the hotels, the people that work there, they were needed. The farms, you need people to work farms, right, for food and all that. And it was a bad call, because the MAGA people, America First people, came right out and said, fuck that. You know, you said you were going after criminals. I don't care if they're on farms and hotels. I don't care if they work in a hospital. They're an illegal criminal. Get them the hell out of here. And what happened? Trump listened to his voters. He listened to the base. Tell me a Democrat that listened to his people in the last 20 years. I can't think of one. Streaky?
No, Democrats tend to believe
being counter.
Democrats tend. What was that?
No, huh?
Democrats tend to believe that. Well, you're with them. You just.
What's up, man?
You just disagree because you don't understand our message. Of course, you have to be agreed with us. You know.
Oh yeah.
But you just don't understand.
Right.
Sometimes they're genteel enough to say, "Oh, we didn't explain our message clearly enough." But
yeah, we have a messaging problem.
Usually, it's
the people who listen to us are stupid. That's what
you're too stupid to
that's
understand.
what our messaging problem is. We have to dumb it down for you people.
Yeah.
For you rats. Anyway, so this shows that Trump does listen to his people. Most politicians don't. You know, and the Democrats absolutely don't, because think about it. Do you think, if you guys think that the majority of the Democrat voters in this country agreed with everything that Biden did, I have some beachfront property in Nevada I want to sell you, because they didn't.
Well, listen, I've got some polls that show that everybody agreed with them.
No, yeah, but where are the polls taken? Now, let me finish what I was saying. Let me finish. 33% of the country is conservative, 33% is liberal, and the rest is all the independents. And right now, out of that 33% on the left, about 10% of that 33% are the extra chromosome, batshit crazy, toys in the attic, nuts, radical left-wing progressives. They're the ones that answer polls.
Yeah, you didn't catch what I was saying, though.
Yeah, I did. I caught it.
I got some polls that'll show he had overwhelming support for what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Great polls.
The fact of the matter is, they know where to call for those polls to get the result that they want. They know exactly where to call.
Of course, they know.
And they don't tell you where. 9 out of 10 times, Rasmussen does most of the time, and Trafalgar does. But a lot of the others, they don't say, well, you know, we called Detroit, we called Los Angeles, and Manhattan. All right? They don't say that.
They have trouble these days, even on the streets of New York City.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but they didn't want the shit. You think they wanted to be forced to get a vax? Now, the left-wing radical lunatics, yeah, to this day, they believe that it was a pandemic of the unvaccinated, which is one of the dumbest frickin' things I've ever heard. So Immigration and Customs Enforcement authorities will continue to target farms, hotels, and restaurants, but will focus on those with ties to criminal organizations. Tom Homan told reporters that federal authorities would focus their efforts on individuals with a criminal nexus of trafficking, of forced labor, of tax fraud, and tax evasion. Homan said that he was sympathetic to industries that had been affected by immigration enforcement, but added that as long as the laws are on the books, it's ICE's job to enforce them. Quote, there's a right way and wrong way to hire workers. There are legal programs that bring farm workers in. I've been saying for years that Congress needs to address this, but because Congress failed, it just doesn't mean we ignore it. Exactly. It's illegal to knowingly hire an illegal alien. That is exactly correct.
I'd be in favor of work permits, though.
Yeah, I would too. The problem is, you give them that little blonde frog's you-know-what hair, okay? You give them that much, and they will exploit it. So they're here on a work permit, right? They don't go home. What do you do?
Then they're illegal. Then you kick their ass out.
Right.
Very simple.
Except they don't. Why? Because you got the Chamber of Commerce that is left wing as hell now. You got them saying, well, look, I got a lot of constituents here that are telling me that if you do that, you do the E-Verify, it's going to screw their business. Do you want to lose their vote and their money? You want to lose that? And Powell, I don't want to lose their money. Screw the vote. I don't want to lose their money, right?
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
Right. Let's see what we got. Make it harder to plead your case. Shit about all this stuff. Let me see. Let's go up to the top.
Yeah, I think we finished the main.
I think we
stories.
exhausted everything I want to talk about on the Big 10. I increased it to 10. When we started this stream, it was 5. Now we double it. All right. Yeah, here you go. You Israel haters, you're going to love this. You like how I put that? Steve Bannon, he's telling Israel, why do we have to clean up your mess? And I agree with him.
Here, Navy SEALs, 3 rules for surviving a real-world assault. Rule number 1, always fight dirty.
I had it queued.
It up. Just come across that Wall Street Journal on an exclusive.
We're not going to play the whole.
Is reporting that told senior aides he approved attack plans for Iran, but is holding off on giving the final order to see if Tehran will abandon its nuclear program. So there you have it. President Trump has said for years they can't have nuclear weapons. We kind of got into this as we got into it. He said, hey, I guess we'll finish the job. Finish the job that the Israelis knew at the beginning that they couldn't finish, right? They couldn't finish. And yet, honestly, they sucked us into this. So now President Trump's got to make the decision. President Trump's got to inform the American people that we have to get involved in combat operations.
Yep.
Not enough to be in defensive combat operations. Now we have to get into combat operations by someone that NBC News is saying prides himself on being a great manipulator. And who, from his public statements, doesn't seem like it was any emergency that needed to be done by kinetic military action last Thursday. Yes, people were united that they can't have the bomb, right? There's a lot of ways to go through that. And people say, well, the diplomacy failed. I'm not so sure about that. Maybe his speed bump. There was a meeting scheduled for Sunday. Was there not? That they'd already, Steve was already set to go to. President Trump's right hand and special envoy for all this, Witkoff, in Muscat, Oman, I think the 6th or 7th meeting. And just maybe they thought they were tapping the president along. There's a lot of things you can do on coercive diplomacy, but they kind of came as a fait accompli. Oh, we have special intelligence. Well, at least show us a little leg on that. Let's see it. Not so sure I'm that impressed with your intelligence. Oh, Steve, they weren't focused on Gaza. Okay. Intelligence services, people there are assigned things. Okay. Don't tell me that focus. You have groups that, hey, you're assigned here. You're assigned to the Indo-Pacific. You're assigned to the Chinese Communist Party's Navy. What is Captain Fennell, the great Captain Fennell we get on here? He was an intelligence officer in the Pacific Fleet. And they focused on the Chinese communist threat there. He knows the chapter and verse. And guess what? The emphasis was over at CENTCOM. And let's talk about that. We talk about we're anti-institutionalist. Well, the reason that we're anti-institutionalist is that the institutions in this government don't work. Right. The deep state has control of them. And yes, it ain't that deep. And everybody in this town that's here working knows it. It's not that deep.
That's right.
One of the central issues we have is CENTCOM.
Of certain departments.
The men and women there are fantastic. It's done as good a job as it can given the political leadership. The valor and courage of the troops is not and never can be questioned given what they've done. Let's go back to Section 60 over at Arlington National Cemetery, where the honored dead are there for eternity. Eternity. Their young lives snuffed out, their families broken. And what did CENTCOM, what did Obama try to do? Pivot to Asia. Did that succeed? No. Because CENTCOM has such power in the Pentagon. We got 50,000 troops over there now. Now we got more of these carrier battle groups.
Yep.
People have to understand the combatant commanders don't think about the Joint Chiefs of Staff anymore. Even the Army Chief of Staff or the Chief of Naval Operations, it's a different deal now. It's restructured since I left the Pentagon. And I left the Pentagon, the CNO was the man. Not anymore. You got combatant commanders. Those combatant commanders are a little bit like God on earth. And CENTCOM is the Mac Daddy. Think about it. With everything we've gone through, look at the bases. Look at all of it. What is it all there for? What's the purpose? I know the purpose of hemispheric defense. I know the purpose of, I can see the purpose of Greenland. I can see the understanding of purpose in the Arctic. I can see the purpose of the Panama Canal. I can see the purpose of the Central Pacific and the three-island chain. It actually makes total and complete sense. You add an Iron Dome on it, an anti-ballistic missile system, and we nurture on the Monroe Doctrine our partners in Brazil when Lula's gone. You get the Bolsonaros back and Milei in Argentina and others. I got it. I understand it. That's a hemispheric defense for the United States off of the Eurasian landmass, where we then can send expeditionary forces where we need to send them.
Exactly.
To not be permanently there.
He was a naval officer, I believe.
I think a lot of people that don't follow that closely, and you don't have to. You got enough to do in your own life. But I think a lot of people are shocked when they're looking at, man, look at all these bases. Look at where the Persians could hit us. We've got all these bases, got 50,000 troops spread over hell's half acre in the Middle East. Why? Why? For what purpose? When we just said, President Trump just said, hey, it's a hemispheric defense. Is that incorporated in the NDAA? No, it is not. At $1 trillion, does any of that happen? No, it's not. You want to see where the $1 trillion is going, folks? Start looking at that map that Max Boot had out there. He starts talking about what's around in the region, what's exposed in the region. President Trump hasn't made a final decision. It rests with the mullahs, and it rests with
I think what he's doing is he's taken that 2 weeks, Trump, to ask his people, can we do it? Will we be successful? That's what I think he's doing. And in the interim, he's hoping that they go, okay. They're not going to do that. They're fanatics.
And they've got to.
Well, that's what he's looking for. He's looking for an agreement.
Right. And they're not going to give it to him. If they do, they're lying.
And he's hoping that it'll agree. But, you know, it's just like the Chinese. They said, oh, yeah, we agree. And then they broke it. But he says, oh, they broke it. So screw them.
Now, who was it? Yeah. Who was it that just, was it Rubio or who the hell was it that just, it might've been JD. What they did was they like, I think it was last week or the beginning of this week, Iran threatened by saying, oh, we'll pull out of the nuclear agreement. And whoever it was came out and said, that's laughable. You guys never even signed it. Most people don't know that. Nobody signed it. You had Lurch, John Kerry. He was so hell-bent on getting it signed or getting through the deal that he gave them everything. Think about this, guys. He allowed that if the, who was it? I forget the name of them. The guys that go around looking for nukes and all that. Shit, they're from the UN. I forget who they are. Put it in the chat if you know. But they had it where if they said, okay, we want to look at, you know, your facility, building 17. Well, they had, I think it was 3 weeks, 21 days. IAEA. Thank you, Jeremiah, very much. They had 21 days before they could come in when they made the announcement, and they had to make the announcement. No surprise inspections. Thank you, John Kerry and Barack Hussein, Milhouse, Benito, Obama. And so what does that mean? You know, it means we're going to move all the shit out of building 17 and put it somewhere else because they're not allowed to look anywhere else. No surprise inspections, right? That's it. Yeah, and you never find anything. Exactly right, because they moved it all. That's what they did. And then eventually, I mean, I think there was one inspection that they were allowed to do, and I think the Iranians said, oh, screw this. It's too much to move this shit. So they said, nah, no more inspection. Screw you. So without even signing it, they really didn't sign it. And number two, Obama, what a disgrace he is. Something like a nuclear agreement with a country like the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism. That's supposed to be a treaty. But Obama knew it would never get passed by the U.S. Senate. So he didn't do it as a treaty. And no one said anything. You know why? Why do you think, Jade? Because he's the first black president. He shits rainbows and ice cream. You can't say anything against Barack Hussein Milhouse Benito Obama. That's the truth.
Listen, who was it that actually, who was it came out and actually used Obama's full name? He said Barack Hussein Obama. And they flamed him.
Yeah,
they flamed him. How dare you do that? What? I said his name.
Because he has a
How
Muslim
dare
name,
you?
Yeah.
You can't even say the
Barack
guy's name.
Obama means lightning strike or something like that, like Satan's lightning strike, something like that. I forget what it means.
idea. No idea. But just for saying his middle name, I forget who did that. Can you remember?
No,
I don't remember.
Look it up.
Anybody remembers, put it in the chat.
Yeah, hold on.
I can't remember.
Let's see, who was it? What was his middle name? It says no one explicitly got in trouble. Yeah, right. Derogatory. They say it was derogatory. Some political opponents used the name Hussein in a way that was intended to be offensive. Well, yeah, it's an offensive name.
It's his name.
Yeah, I know, but
If you find it
his real name was
offensive,
Barry Sorteo, or Saturo.
if you find it offensive, that's on you. You know,
Yeah.
that's a perception thing. That happens to be his name.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the person's name was Hobbs. For some reason, that comes to mind. All right, we're done with the video. Let me see.
Move on.
That's not his real name, not even close. What? Barry Saturo? That's what his father's name was, or stepfather from Indonesia. He was adopted by him. Hawaiian gay boy. Yeah. You heard, what was it? What was I say? Well, let me see this. Hang on, Snoopy. Hang on. I posted this earlier. This is funny. No, I'll probably get in trouble if I'm not going to post it. Sorry, guys. Lolo Saturo. Yes. Hey, what's up, Special K? Good to see you, man. We have very strange, funny names over here, Rich. Do you?
So I hadn't heard about this. What did Trump say about Amy Coney Barrett?
Oh, yeah. Amy Coney Barrett. Well, it wasn't Trump. It's MAGA that turned on her because she sides with the lib nuts on.
Of course, yeah. I mean, half the time she does.
MAGA,
and I mean,
go ahead.
Some of the decisions that, you know, some of her opinions I can understand because of where she came from, the academic background, and she doesn't want to deal with any of these interlocutory things. It's got to be everything's got to be perfect and laid out, just like she read in the textbook.
Yeah, I never looked it up. There was a Hispanic judge, female, who was also in the running. It was down to her and Amy Coney Barrett. And I was for Amy Coney Barrett because I listened to conservatives saying that she was real good constitutionalist, all that crap. And then I read this other woman's record, and I was like, holy shit, I'd rather have her. Because this other woman was like MAGA before MAGA was MAGA. You know?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think the other one would have been better. I had great hopes for Amy Coney Barrett, but she's.
So did I. And she just.
I wouldn't say she's
broke
horrible.
my freaking heart. Yeah.
I wouldn't say she's horrible, but she's been, let's just call it disappointing in several instances.
Well, did you see that Elon Musk? If it was anybody but Elon Musk, it would have been detrimental and insulting to a justice of the Supreme Court, because he had a case where the government was against him, and I forget what it was about, something about employment and whatnot. And he did his due diligence. In other words, the Biden DOJ lied. Ah, no way, Rich. Yeah, the Biden DOJ lied to go after Elon because he gave us free speech back on X. Okay. So Barrett was about to side with, like, you could tell she was going to vote for the government side, right? And then Elon just stood up and started speaking, because a question was asked to his lawyers, and he just got up and took the ball, and everybody's like, oh crap. And she gave him a hard time for the first two questions, but when he answered, he had every answer that she wanted. And then she finally sided with him. And she said,
Yeah,
you
like I
really
said,
did your work on this. And he said, I did, Justice. And he said, because I don't like it when the government lies like that.
yeah, like I said, I don't think she's horrible, but she's been disappointing.
But she doesn't like Trump. We know that now.
I'm not
He
sure
put her on
she's.
the court, and she doesn't like him.
Yeah, I'm not sure she's super fond of him.
Yeah, she's not at all. She's already been out of it. So MAGA turns on Trump-appointed Justice Amy Coney Barrett as she threatens to upend SCOTUS. A new analysis appears to confirm conservative fears that Donald Trump-appointed Supreme Court Justice ACB, it's like an OCD, ACB, all right, has often swung to the left on her rulings. Many allies of the president have even referred to the justice, who has 7 children, including 2 adopted from Haiti, as a DEI hire. And there are reports Trump himself, I don't think that. And there are reports Trump himself. Now we happen to know that Ketanji Brown Jackson was DEI because Joe Biden said so. He said it's going to be a black woman. He said it. All right. That's DEI. All right. So, and there are reports Trump himself has complained about Barrett's rulings. The associate justice was chosen by Trump and rushed through confirmation by Senate Republicans in 2020 ahead of the election. Exactly. Because they wanted to get somebody in. They didn't want, if Biden won, they didn't want him putting somebody in. So it was smart.
And however bad she is, she wouldn't be nearly as bad as somebody that Biden put in.
Well, he was going to put in Obama's rejection, which might have Merrick Garland, which might have been better than where he was, at the head of the
but
DOJ.
do you know how bad
the
it would,
Attorney General. What's that?
Do you know how bad it would be to have Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court?
Well, not really that bad because there's 5 conservatives on there. So
I only count 4 myself.
Well, yeah, but there's 5. You got the 3 that are definitely. It's always between Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice John Roberts.
Yeah,
one of those 2 will go over. But they're not hard liberals. They're not hard liberals.
The only ones you can count on is Alito, Thomas, and I don't know if you can count on Kavanaugh.
Well, Kavanaugh and Gorsuch.
Gorsuch
you can pretty much. Yeah, Gorsuch is more libertarian leaning, but at least he understands the Constitution.
You can sort of count. So
pretty sure he read it.
I can think you can count more or less on 4: Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh.
Well, yeah, but now I think there's 5. We always have the problem of one of the 2 might go over to the other side. But like I say, I think when John Roberts first became the Chief of the Justice of the United States, he was more interested, and it was very blatant. He was more interested in making sure that the 3 branches got along and respected each other, instead of making sure that he protected and upheld the Constitution.
Yeah, he's a political hack that blows with the wind.
Yes, but lately, the court has been doing a lot, like especially when Trump was out, the court was doing a lot of things to overturn really bad liberal court rulings of the past. And we already went over them, right? Roe being the top one that everybody knows. But he was hell bent on saying, we got to get the court back into a position that defends the Constitution. So he finally came around. And I guess just so his family doesn't get threatened, because he is a pussy. We know that when Texas put the bid in to get them to look at the 2020 election, and I think it was like 28 other states joined them, and he said, no, we're not even going to look at that case, and there's no precedent. And Alito, this is from the people that were paid, or the clerks that were listening outside the room when they were in there, and they said it was Alito and Thomas said, oh, we got Bush v. Gore 2000, and he screamed, don't give me a fucking Bush v. Gore 2020 because they didn't have riots, or 2000. They didn't have riots. So he was afraid of rioters. So now you scream loud, set fires, and kill people, and you rule the government, according to our Chief Justice of the United States.
Well, that's how it's been for how long?
Yeah. So a new study of Barrett's first half decade on the court, prepared for the paper, finds those worries not to be out of tune with her record from the bench. Several law professors determined that Barrett doesn't come close to conservative icon Antonin Scalia. No, the closest people, there's two that are extremely close, and you know who they are: Alito and Thomas. All right, they're so close to Scalia, but they're still not Scalia's, right? And is showing signs of leftward drift. This is what happens to a lot of appointees from Republicans. Look, who was the one? Scooter. Oh, what was his name? Help me, people. He was the guy that I think either Reagan or Bush put on, and he went total left wing. Scooter, or oh crap, I forget his name. But anyway, that's usually what happens.
Souter.
Yeah, Souter. Thank you. It never goes the other way. You never have a liberal go, you know what? I think I'm going to grow up and read the Constitution. It just never happens. So let's see. Yeah, so she took the job. She just that just kills me. You take the job, and yet you're going to side with left wingers who hate the Constitution. They cite her agreeing with liberal Justices Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, specifically 82% of the time during her second term, up from 39% in her first. Can you believe this? 82% of the time. Her central role includes writing her rulings separately from the other justices more frequently. Not only has she aligned more frequently with liberal majorities, she is the Republican least likely to support Trump in cases that involve the president himself. She has voted with liberal majorities 91% of the time, while voting with conservative majorities 84% of the time. Now, how is that possible? Is my Catholic school math off? If you're 91% of the time, how can you be 84% of the time with that goes way over 100%? Whatever. Though, given the 6-3 conservative bend, see that they're saying 6-3. There are more conservative than liberal victories.
I say there's only 4 Supreme Court votes that we can count on.
No, I think 5. They're saying 6 because they're including Roberts. Only and see they're doing that. This is Daily Mail. Okay, they're doing that because they're doing it based on who appointed.
Yeah,
like that's what a lot of people, they go, well, James Comey was appointed. He's a Republican. Did you know that? Really? And the other a-holes, well, Trump appointed Chris Wray. So in other words, so he's supposed to be like so if Trump appointed him, then he must be right in what he did. So, all that violating the Constitution, violating people's rights, well, it must be okay for Trump because Trump appointed him. It's just asinine. Quote, we have too much to hope for. She doesn't have enough courage, says Davis, who was criticized by phone earlier this year by conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch for Davis's comments about Barrett on Steve Bannon's podcast. Davis called Barrett scared of her own shadow. And she is. You can see the look on her face half the time when she's in public. She is a rattled law professor with her head up her ass, Davis, a former clerk to Gorsuch, told Bannon. That's funny.
Yeah, now, she is a perfect law school professor.
Yeah, exactly. Don't live in the real world. Yeah, exactly.
A professor.
At this point, Kavanaugh is better than her on his voting record.
Yeah. Like I said, the only ones I count on, Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh.
Right. He also blasted her.
Everybody else, depending on the issue, you expect to only have 4.
Right. He also blasted her as weak and timid on NBC News. Right-wing influencer Eric Doherty, if you guys don't know who he is, follow him on X. He's pretty good. Attacked the justice in a series of tweets as an anti-Trump judge and a big problem. Quote, Barrett deceived people into thinking she was a reliable constitutionalist. Deceived me. I thought she was, because of the way she would answer the questions in her confirmation. The power has gone to her head. It happens with frightening regularity over the last half century, posted conservative Mark Levin. Megyn Kelly went off on her podcast as a little squishy.
I would say very
squishy.
squishy.
Well, that's what they used to call Boehner, a little squishy. He was a little squishy. All right. As a female,
I'd call her very squishy.
Yeah, as a female who leans right, I'm kind of sick of like the female conservatives who get appointed to the Supreme Court, Sandra Day O'Connor, now Amy Coney Barrett, like being too squishy. That's right. Get somebody with some rhetorical balls who will hold us fiercely to conservative principles in the judiciary as the left wing does. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And they go, well, you're supposed to be adherent to the Constitution. Yeah, well, then tell your own fucking people that. Because, I mean, you got people on the Supreme Court, the three numbnuts, that will vote for the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. I'm so sick and tired of that shit. You're like, wait a minute. How the hell could they vote against that? Like, you don't even have to come up with something. You know it. There's things you're like, wait a minute. They actually voted against that? You know, like illegals being kicked out. You know, I mean, they would vote against that. So how are you holding up the Constitution when you vote directly in contradiction to it? I'm just so sick of it. And then they say, well, you're supposed to adhere to the Constitution when you're a right-winger.
You have to understand. You have to understand, Rich. These lawyers, first of all, are very funny people. And when they get put into the position of the Supreme Court, everything that comes out of their mouths is pure platinum. Just ask them. They'll tell you.
Oh, I know.
They know what the Constitution means. They must know what it means because they were put on the Supreme Court to interpret it. So obviously, they know more about the Constitution than you do.
Yeah.
It's very circular logic.
That's what they believe.
It's very circular logic, but it's like teachers. Teachers think so much of themselves. We obviously know more. We're teaching it, so we must know more.
Yeah, but but see, the leftists on the court. Now you think about it. They're in the Dunning-Kruger effect area. Like Sotomayor. Well, I always say this. She's supposedly a real sweetheart. She's a deadpan moron when it comes to the Constitution. Some of the things she said is like, wow, you shouldn't even be like a district judge, you know, with your knowledge of the Constitution. Right. Ketanji Brown Jackson literally said during her confirmation, and they freaking confirmed her, she literally said she thinks the Constitution is racist. So if you think the Constitution is racist and you're against racism, how can you take an oath that says I will uphold and defend a racist document?
And she sat there in her confirmation and said that she would base her judgments, at least in part, on race.
Right. Yes, she did.
How can you do that?
Because she was a DEI hire.
Yeah, and then she got confirmed.
That's not me. That's warm diarrhea brains, Joe Biden, who said that. Think about it. That's crazy, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. What are we talking about? Mutilate their son? Oof. Yikes. The first target of Marxists in the U.S. intelligentsia, who fancied themselves as unique. Then the long march through the institutions later, and here we are. Yeah, progressives teaching kids to be tards. Yahweh. What about Yahweh? Let me see. The multitude of the, oh, geez. Oh, man. I think Rich is Jewish. Why would you say that? I'm not Jewish, actually. There's nothing more than reversed it. Yeah, well, exactly. It should be spelled DIE because that's what happens to your company when you enforce that.
And just by the way, there is no such thing as reverse discrimination. It's discrimination.
Right. But
Period.
You understand why they say it, though.
I understand why people say that because when
because when you use discrimination to fight discrimination, which is what that Kendi, whatever his name was, Ibram Kendi.
Ibram Kendi, Ibram
Yeah.
X Kendi.
Right. When he said that, like he had 3 different pillars of it as well for past, present, and future, right? Well, when he said that, I mean, you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, are you really for reals here? Like you're the
he said-
intelligentsia on the other side. I think we're going to be fine. You know, it's like that.
He said the only way to correct previous racism is with current racism.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Oh, we're already there, dude. We're already balkanized. I mean, Yuri Bezmenov was right. He nailed it. So let's see. What do we got here? Let's get some other stuff. Ask spy agencies to destroy. All right.
You want to talk about East Palestine, the second one down? Get off of some of that. Get into a new topic here for a second.
Sure. Yuri knew. Yeah, he did. J.D. Vance and RFK Jr. announced investigation into long. Is that the one you wanted? No. Yeah. Long-term health effects of East Palestine train derailment. The people of East Palestine, Ohio, are finally getting the care they need after the 2023 train derailment full of toxic chemicals that poison them. J.D. Vance and HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just announced an investigation into the long-term health effects residents of East Palestine are suffering. Let's see what they say.
Hey guys, Vice President J.D. Vance here, and I want to take you back to something that happened early on when I was United States
Guy
Senator.
to
There was a
his
terrible
right,
train
our left.
crash, and then there was a controlled burn of toxic chemicals that went into the atmosphere.
Can't pronounce his name,
in
but I love
East Palestine, Ohio, a little town in the northeastern corner of the state of Ohio. What happened then is that people got very worried, and I've been to East Palestine a number of times, and they're very worried about what are the long-term impacts of these chemicals in the water.
I mean, you think about it, Pete Buttigieg, it took him 3 months to even acknowledge it. And then how long was it before he even went? It was like a year before he even went there. And he only went there because so many people complained that the administration said, oh, for God's sake, just go. Just shut them up.
In the air. What effect does it have on their kids and grandkids after 5 years?
And
10
they
years,
voted red.
15
That's
years of
why.
exposure. And the crazy thing is, number one, we didn't have a good answer to that question. Science had never actually tried to understand what the long-term exposure of these trace chemicals would do to people. And the second crazy thing is that as much as I tried as a United States Senator to work with the Biden administration, they refused to do anything to actually study the effects of these long-term exposures on the people of East Palestine. Well, now we have a new president.
Look, we this is the same regime that told people in North Carolina, told their FEMA people, look, ignore the houses that have a Trump sign.
Yeah.
A great new Secretary of Health and Human Services, and he's got an incredible announcement. We're finally going to study the effects on these chemicals and finally get to the bottom
let
of
him
what
make the
effect
announcement.
this terrible train crash and the ensuing consequences had on the people of East Palestine.
I want to start by thanking my friend, Vice President J.D. Vance, for his continued and persistent interest in this issue, which many Americans have already forgotten. On February 3rd, 2023, a Norfolk Southern freight derailed in East Palestine, Ohio. The wreck involved 38 cars carrying hazardous chemicals, which ignited and then spread in these prolonged fires. East Palestine community members immediately began experiencing a range of initial health symptoms, including headaches and respiratory and skin and eye irritations, prompting concerns about the broader long-term impacts on maternal and child health. At the urging of Vice President, the National Institute of Health, under my direction, has launched a 5-year, $10 million research initiative to address health outcomes stemming from this calamity. This is the first large-scale coordinated multi-year federal study focused specifically on the long-term health impacts of the East Palestine disaster. The program will support robust community-engaged epidemiological research to understand the impacts of exposures on short and long-term injuries. It will also support public health tracking and surveillance of the community's health conditions to help us make informed health care choices and take appropriate preventative measures. I want to thank Vice President Vance are not forgetting about the people of East Palestine, for making this an important issue and for allowing us to launch this important initiative.
This is a big announcement, guys. I'm very, very excited about it.
I am absolutely delighted to make this announcement today, and I want to thank Vice President Vance and Secretary Kennedy for staying.
Yeah, this guy was on Tucker all throughout COVID, and he spoke the truth, which is why they banned him from all the social medias. Huh?
Why do you have trouble with his name? Is Dr. J?
Yeah, okay.
On the purpose and goal of the
Baccarat,
NIH, the mission
Baccarat,
is to advance the health and well-being of the American people, and this is a concrete way that we're going to do
great.
that. The NIH is working to ensure that the people of East Palestine and the surrounding communities are listened to, cared for, and they get the answers they deserve. Today, the NIH has established a program to coordinate health-related research with public health department needs and clinical practice to respond to the health effects of the derailment. The train was carrying hazardous materials, including vinyl chloride, butyl acrylate, ethylene glycol.
And they're saying that the reason why it may have derailed is because of something that the Biden regime did with regulations on something with a sensor. It got overheated, it melted, and that's what caused the derailment.
Benzene residue, and community members have experienced a range of health issues.
It didn't
following
slow the
incident.
train down.
The NIH's multidisciplinary research program will focus on public health tracking and surveillance of the community's health.
I'm sorry. And that's the reason why they didn't want anything to do it, because once you get people snooping, then you got I forget what the TT, whatever it is. You got the transportation people that would get in there and they would start studying it, and they would come out with a report. Oh, it's because of what you guys did when you pulled that reg.
Conditions to support healthcare decisions and preventative measures. Importantly, the program will be community-led. It will emphasize extensive, well-coordinated communications among researchers, study participants, community stakeholders, and healthcare providers, and others to provide a comprehensive approach to address the affected community's health concerns. The NIH intends to allocate up to $10 million across 5 years. The deadline to submit proposals is July 21, and we anticipate starting research this fall. Thank you so much, and so proud to be working on this effort with you guys.
Thank you, guys. I want to thank the president for making this possible, and thank these two guys for their hard work to actually implement this. This is a very big deal, not just for the people of East Palestine.
Well, it's good because it sets a precedent now.
But for anybody who wants to understand the connection between the chemicals that we use every day and the effects that it has on people's health. No one has tried to do this in this particular way. I think it's going to benefit millions of Americans. We're going to know more than we knew because of the hard work of the guys standing next to me.
Yep.
Hey, guys.
Want to have a little Roundup cocktail?
Yeah.
Want to have a little Roundup cocktail? Roundup and scotch, you know?
Yeah.
Do we want to do a funny?
Do they still sell that?
Uh-huh.
Why?
They still sell.
If they know that it causes cancer, why do they still sell? Why do they allow?
Well, they put a warning. They put a warning on it.
Oh, there's a warning on it. Okay.
Do we want to do a funny story about Michelle?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's take a break. Let's do a funny story.
Michelle. Let me see. Which one is it? Which one is it?
Fourth one down, fifth one down.
Wait a minute. 1, 2.
It starts with wow.
Oh. Okay, got it. I typed Michelle in the search. It didn't find it. Hang on. Wow, Michelle takes another public swipe at Barack, says she's glad she didn't have a son. Well, she didn't have daughters either. Men can't have kids. He would have been a Barack Obama. If Obama had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. No, or not. Michelle Obama took a nasty public swipe at her husband, Barack Obama, again. Just get divorced already. The former first lady said during her podcast this week that she's glad she doesn't have a son because he would have been just like her husband. Quote, because he would have been a Barack Obama. The Hill reported, Michelle Obama says she's glad she never had a son because he'd been a kitty clone of her husband. You should have threw a boy in the mix, radio host Angie Martinez told Obama in an episode of the former First Lady's IMO podcast released Wednesday. The remark came as Obama and her brother, Craig Robinson, along with Martinez, discussed society. And we've never seen Craig and Michelle in the same room. I'm just saying. Discuss society's view of masculinity and the challenges of raising boys and young men. I'm so glad I didn't have a boy. Why didn't you throw in a third? Martinez said with a chuckle to the mother of two, because he would have been a Barack Obama, the becoming author of the former president's wife's quipped to laughs. Baby Barack. It would have been amazing, Martinez replied. Michelle Obama has been taking jabs at her husband amid divorce rumors. Earlier this year, Michelle blasted Barack for being irresponsible. I watched a video of him yesterday where he and this was very recent. He went on a show and he talked about how we need to, I mean, he's still drinking the Kool-Aid. We need to get government oversight on the misinformation on social media. He doesn't know how to read the frickin' room. Would you be attracted to a guy who's not financially sound when you meet him? Michelle Obama insulted Barack Obama. I married one. Yeah, okay. Let's see what this, hold on. Michelle Obama claims that Barack Obama, let's see what this is.
Would you be attracted to a guy who's not financially sound when you meet him?
I married one.
Look at the mouse ears on her. Holy mackerel.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
or it's the
Look
Princess
at
Di,
that.
and it looks like she fell into her seat, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, like Princess Leia, only done bad.
Or Princess Leia. I said Princess Di. Forgive me, my UK friends. Princess
I
Princess
knew
Leia.
what you meant, actually.
I mean, imagine that. Imagine.
That's what Princess Leia should have looked like after she went down that chute.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So Michelle is just making up for that for us. I can't even look at it anymore.
Let's not go down the other rabbit hole with her, though.
Yeah.
We'll never figure that one out.
Yeah, I know. Haggardly. All right, so let's go. Let's say about let's see. FBI spies. Wow, Michelle Van Jones. Yeah, here we go. See, when you got Democrats like Van Jones saying left needs to take the threat of Iran getting nukes more seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just, we don't have to read it. Let me just.
If President Trump's 2-week deadline sounds familiar to you, well, that's because
We're not gonna play
we
the
have
whole
definitely heard it all before.
I'll let you know in about 2 weeks, within 2 weeks. I could answer that question better in 2 weeks, and I'll do this at some point over the next 2 weeks. I'll announce it over the next 2 weeks. I'll let you know in about 2 weeks. It'll be out in about less than 2 weeks.
See, the difference is when we do those kinds of montages, it's with all different people in the media saying the exact same thing. These people don't know how to meme. Showing Trump giving the same answer when he says, I'm going to make a decision in 2 weeks, it means nothing.
2 weeks, we will be watching, just like we were watching for that healthcare plan. Rena Nine is at the table with us for this conversation. Rena, our colleague, former Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger, put it this way. He says, this is Trump's taco moment. Regardless of your opinion on Iran, on the Iran strike, Trump is showing a case of chicken.
I want to get to.
Look, I think this is an important moment because I don't think people on the left have thought seriously enough about what if Iran does get the bomb. That's a different world than most of us have thought about as progressives. In other words, Iran is they say death to America, death to Israel, death to all the Jews. One of those should offend you. At least one should offend you. And their treatment of women and gays is horrific. And if they get a bomb, they're active. North Korea, they've got a bomb, but they kind of just sit around and fire stuff in the ocean and do weird stuff. Iran is actively destabilizing Africa, Boko Haram, etc. So I don't know what to do, but I would like to see progressives take more seriously the threat here of the bomb. I don't know if Trump should be dropping bunker busters, what he should be doing, but progressives should be taking this a lot more seriously.
That is the decision that he faces. It's, I mean, I think everybody, I think, is taking this seriously. The question is the attack going to...
For goodness sake, their president, Barack Obama, put into the appendix or the addendum, whatever the hell it's called, put into the back of the damn thing, the nuclear deal, that within 15 years, Iran was allowed to have a nuclear bomb. It's still there. You can read it.
The right choice in this moment. And it seems that even Trump just now has decided right now it's not. He actually wants to get back to the negotiating table.
No,
I mean,
won't.
could have kept the meeting that was on the schedule for Sunday, but instead, here we are. He's being swayed clearly based on what we're talking about, but he also seems to be very reticent to go here.
Look, I think he's listening to a lot of different voices, and
he's already said that we're not getting into a long war in the Middle East. He said it recently. Okay, they're not reporting on it because they're scumbags, but he said it recently. What he's thinking of doing, like I said, is he going to drop the bunker busters, whatever they have today, to take out the facility underground? And he's asking to 2 weeks is because, see, they want an answer right away. You know, a lot of things you can't. I'm going to blow up a lot of people. You want the answer by what time is it? 9 by 9:30? Yeah, right. I mean,
Well,
Trump
he's
is actually
also-
being responsible by saying, you know what, I'm going to take a couple weeks because he's trying to find out, can we do
He's-
this with the least amount of damage, but are we going to do it? Will it work? Will we be successful?
At least as important is his deal making. He is really trying to get this done without
It is
having any more violence.
Oh, I know.
that's something that everyone should encourage. You want the president to make an educated decision before he makes it, and there's a
Look at
lot.
the look on her face. That is the definition of resting bitch face.
Come to the table in the last few hours. You've got the Strait of Hormuz, and you've got the fact that you got 25% of the oil every day coming through there, 20% of natural gas. There are a lot of people saying, hey, there's a lot of boats there. You probably want to get them out in case they do try to close it. So that's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, you also have to make sure that your American.
Let me put it this way. They were worried about Rocket Man threatening the entire world, like blackmailing them. Hey, you're going to give us all this food and money, and you're going to get out of our area of the ocean, or we're going to nuke your ass. Well, that's the day that Iran becomes a nuclear power. What do you think they're going to do?
If
With
they
no
can,
regard
if there is any
anything.
chance that they get away with it, they will launch the bomb on Israel.
And the thing is, Iran could be a really super country. They can. They got a lot of
Yeah,
young
and-
people there that are westernized. They could really do well. But that
And that's what Trump wants. Do you remember?
I think he does, yeah.
Remember when he met with the Taliban?
Yeah.
And he had that satellite picture in his jacket,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and he handed it to the head of the Taliban, and he got
it
the
was his house.
picture.
Yeah.
It was a satellite picture of this guy's house with his kids playing in his yard.
Saying we know.
And he didn't
we know
say
where you
anything.
are. He didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything. He just handed the guy the picture.
Right.
And
who was it that did do the talking? It was it wasn't Alan West. Who was it?
But I think that's what he's doing with the current.
You know who it was? It was Byron Donalds. That's who it was from Florida. It was Byron Donalds. He's the one that sat there and spoke to him and said, the president of the United States says that you will do this, you will do that, you will do that. And he has a message for you. And he just pulled the picture out and handed it to him. And he got up and he left the room. And the meeting was over. And the guy looked at it and so Byron Donald said, do we have an understanding? He went, yes, we do.
And I think that's exactly what Trump is doing with this 2 weeks. Because you'll already notice Khomeini, or whatever they pronounce of his name, he's gone into hiding in a deep bunker. Khomeini. He's gone into hiding with his family. And that's, I think.
And we know where he's at.
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing. I think he wants a deal. But he wants a deal that can be enforced or monitored, whatever the proper
We have
word
Streaky
is.
here saying that you and I have been Israelized. I think
Yeah,
that's
I'm getting a little tired of that, actually.
Yeah, I am too, man. You know,
so Streaky Bacon,
I support Israel. Yeah, I do, but I don't support going to a fucking war over their shenanigans.
Yeah,
I support them because they're the only democracy in the Middle East. It doesn't, unconditional surrender. That's what Trump called for. I don't support them to the point where I want our soldiers going in there in yet another endless fucking war with a bunch of Islamic fanatics that never give up, that are too stupid to know that they lost.
Streaky Bacon, take some motherly advice. leave it alone.
Yeah, because I
I'm
don't like
done.
that when you say that about me either. I mean, just because I support them as far as being the only democracy in the Middle East, it doesn't mean that I'm in some kind of cabal with them or some shit like that.
Yeah.
All right, moving right.
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect when that little country is every day is threatened with complete
And it's been since the
elimination?
beginning. I mean, they say, well, the Jews did it first. No, they did not. They did not.
Who
History
even
is
knows?
history.
This has been going on for like 1,000 years. But what I'm saying is leave it alone.
Yeah, at least here, please. I mean, you can have your opinion and all that. You can say every goddamn thing you want about Israel in my chat. Doesn't bother me at all. But please, don't insult me that way. Just
and
please don't.
honestly,
please.
We just don't
I'm
need to
asking
hear
you
that.
nicely.
Yeah, we don't need to hear that. I know you've said you've been drinking. I'll cut you some slack. But we just don't need to hear that.
Yeah, you can say. I'm not saying you can't say anything against Israel. Have at it, bro.
Everybody's got an opinion.
Do what you want, but don't drag me in by saying that I'm somehow in cahoots with them or I've been Israelized. That's not cool.
Yeah, there's a word for that, Streaky Bacon. It's called bullshit.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, really, man. Don't please don't be doing that. All right. No, you can say whatever the hell you want. Yeah, I am a Christian. Yeah, exactly. Actually, it was the Romans, but I know what you're trying to say.
Okay, shall we move on? There's a personal one here. What about Colorado? I don't know if you want to talk about that one.
Matter of fact, I was thinking of you when I pulled that up.
Yeah, that's a personal one.
Yeah. Trump admin orders Colorado to turn over all records from the 2024 federal election. Most, if not all, counties have destroyed all of those records now from the 2020 election, he said. Now, certainly from the 2024 election, counties are still in the process of retaining those until that retention period expires. You think about that. Think about it. It was the most pristine election we ever had. The U.S. Department of Justice has ordered Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, real piece of shit, to hand over all records related to the 2024 federal elections. In a letter to Griswold, the DOJ stated, we recently received a complaint alleging non-compliance by your office concerning the National Voter Registration Act, NVRA 94, and that all records related to election were needed to evaluate the complaint. The DOJ also requested all statutes, regulations, written guidance, internal policies, or database user manuals that set out the procedures Colorado has put in place to retain records related to elections. Matt Crane, executive director of the Colorado County Clerks Association, said in response to the order, while it's certainly an unusual request, I don't remember any request from the federal government this expansive coming in. Who gives a shit? It was still a request. Who gives a shit if it's unusual? That was an unusual response to a federal request. Crane claimed that the order from the DOJ was too broad. It could be anything from voter registration information, voter turnout information. It could be information from the voting system access and activity logs. It could be the actual ballots themselves. Under Colorado law, election records must be kept for 25 months, longer than the 22 months required under federal law. But Crane said that window has long closed, the outlet reported, which is fine. As long as they stuck within the law, who cares, right? Most, if not all, counties have destroyed all of those records now from the 2020 election. Okay. Crane added that counties are still in the process of retaining records from the 2024 election and that most relevant data resides at the county level. The Secretary of State, well, they'll have less cheating involved then than they did in 2020. 2020 was, oh God, that was the shithole year. The Secretary of State will have some of the data, but most of this data is in each of the 64 counties who actually run the elections. It's still unclear why the Department of Justice is seeking the records. Two DOJ.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah. It's still unclear why the Department of Justice is seeking the records. Two DOJ spokespeople declined to comment when asked by Denver 7. Crane suspects the inquiry may be related to Tina Peters, the former Mesa County clerk, currently serving 9-year sentence for allowing unauthorized access to voting machines. See, those voting machines were Dominion machines with the Smartmatic software on there. And they under no circumstances that they want anybody to learn what was on those machines. And that's why
Tina Peters didn't allow unauthorized access to the machine. She downloaded some incriminating information and is paying for it now.
Right. That's exactly correct. Because the same thing happened in Georgia. There were some people that started downloading stuff from the machines before they had permission. But then our friend Mark, who we bring on here a lot, he told me that there were some machines that were discarded. They were thrown out. So that's open season. So the guys went on there and they used the national password, the security password, and they got in and they saw everything that was in there. And there was a lot of interesting stuff in there. So while Peters is not mentioned in the DOJ's letter, Crane said, when we get this kind of request asking for election records, when it's something that she's been putting out in the public square, as her supporters have, we think it's pretty fair to say that it has something to do with that. Again, who cares? See, the Constitution says that a state legislature has the right and the authority to make election laws. However, in a federal election, that's why we have the Federal Elections Commission. In a federal election, which 2024 was, and so was 2020, the feds have the right to do audits. It's very simple. President Donald Trump recently said that Peters is an innocent political prisoner on Truth Social and urged the DOJ to secure her release because she is. You believe that, right, Jade?
Tina Peters, she's a hero.
Yeah, she's right. She's a political prisoner. She's an innocent political prisoner. Okay.
No, she's a hero, and
she is.
That asshole Jared Polis is trying to keep her shut up.
That's right. Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold responded to the order in a statement. Donald Trump has weaponized his department. Can you believe this shit? These are the same people that tried to get Trump removed from the ballot. Remember that shit? Yep. Colorado was one of the first states to actually go through with that and try to get him off the ballot over the stupid ass 14th Amendment insurrection and rebellion clause. I mean, and they want to talk about weaponizing a Department of Justice. So Donald Trump has weaponized his Department of Justice, targeting his perceived enemies and meddling in state cases to try and free those who supported his big election lie. Really? So it's a big election lie, even though you a-holes put her in prison because she was going to expose that big election lie. Right? Yeah, that makes sense. I will always follow the law, bullshit, and protect our democracy. We don't live in a democracy and won't be intimidated by this baseless inquiry. Yeah, but you're going to comply, aren't you? I guarantee she'll comply. So Jefferson County Clerk Amanda Gonzalez, who is running to succeed Griswold, is also criticized.
Of course she is.
DOJ. This absolutely is not about election security. It's about voter confidence. It really does feel like a politically motivated fishing expedition. Sure, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not jiving. What do you say? And at my back, hold on. What's the conversation now? There have been none so blind people who refuse to look at what?
No, he's still talking about us.
Oh, the Jews.
He's still talking about us.
Homeland for Jews. Yeah, well, he can talk about that, about the Jews. I really don't care. You know, you have free speech here, but just you know what, dude, you can still talk shit about me, but I'm not going to like it. You can say whatever you want here as long as it doesn't violate the YouTube's rules and gets my ass in trouble, right? So you can, but it's not cool to like make shit up like that about me. So just that's all I'm saying, bro. Pamela B, thanks for correcting.
Okay.
All right. So moving right along. Let me close this out, and I got to close the other one out. Okay. So OpenAI, $200 million historic surge. Blue collar wages towards 60-year high under the. Yeah, that's a good one. Let's do that. So historic surge, blue collar wages soar to 60-year high under the Trump administration. Now, I'm sure all the fake news wanted to get rid of that part of the sentence, but no, they can't. So blue-collar workers in the United States have seen because Donald Trump cares about them, have seen the largest increase in real hourly wages in nearly 6 decades, according to new data released by the Treasury Department. Officials link the rise to economic policies implemented during President Donald Trump's second term, particularly measures affecting labor supply and immigration enforcement. Guys, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait until all the 13 or so trillion dollars of business investment, wait until all those companies are built and they start hiring people and they start kicking ass. Wait until we become our own supply chain, right? We become a supply chain for the rest of the world, but with an America first attitude until the first Democrat gets back into the White House, of course. In the first 5 months of 2025, real wages for production and non-supervisory workers rose by 1.7%, the highest year-to-date gain since 1969. The White House published the findings, which show, these are the stats that the Democrats will conveniently forget about within 2 years or so, which showed a reversal of wage trends from the previous administration, warm diarrhea brains, where real earnings declined by 1.7% over the same period. So now we're at a flat line, right? At this point of the story. Joe Lavorgna, counselor of Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, said the increase aligns with the administration's broader economic strategy. Quote, today's data confirm what we saw during President Trump's first administration. Pro-growth policies like tax reform and deregulation had a measurable impact on real wages. You know why Trump knew that? Very simple, because those things affected his business, right? He knew that the taxes, they say, oh, Trump had all these bankruptcies, right? Well, I'll tell you what, in New York during the years that real estate took a real freaking hit because of taxes and because of regulations in the state of New York, right? Trump actually kept afloat. And how did he do that? He did a couple of bankruptcies to save his company, and he saved all those jobs for all those people. There's multiple forms of bankruptcy, and he did it the right way, and he saved his company. There are some other real estate companies that were huge in New York. They're no longer here. They didn't handle things the way he did. And so he understands that regulations and taxes can kill an industry, not just a business, an industry. Wage growth this year exceeds that of every president since Nixon. Historical data shows negative or flat real wage growth under several past administrations, including Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Clinton, Bush W., and Obama and Jimmy Carter. In a June 17 post on X, Bessent, I think it is, attributed the gains to Trump's America First approach, writing, hardworking Americans and Main Street businesses have never had a stronger ally in the White House. And I believe that wholly. Thanks to POTUS's pro-growth, America First policies, real wages for hourly workers are up nearly 2% in the first 5 months of Trump's second term, the strongest growth in 60 years. No president has done that before except President Trump in his first term. Exactly right. All right, we don't need to read anymore because we got the gist.
And I would only correct one thing, one small detail. You said that they'll forget about these stats in 2 years.
Yeah.
I would clarify is that they won't forget about them, but they'll try to convince you that you've forgotten about them.
Oh, right. Oh, I know. Hang on.
They'll try and convince you that it never existed.
Right. Oh, yeah. Because they're going to gaslight you to the hilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
What else we got?
Hang on. Let me see. Redundant verbosity much? LOL. Okay.
What is this?
I swear that it was original. Oh, Kurt Schlichter. I got to have a Schlichter moment every single week now because I just love how he writes. And he nails it every single time. So he writes, I swear the Democrats are ridiculous. Really? Oh, shit. He made, it wasn't a paid one this morning. Damn it. It was really good too. Oh, well. Sorry about that, guys. It's now under a paywall. Oh, that sucks. All right. Let's see. Left-wing Summer riot scheme laid out. Names, numbers, and receipts included. That's funny. Yeah, here. Well, no, we're going to get off that topic. Watch hundreds of.
Oh, how about another feel-good story? Federal agents crush anti-ICE riots in Portland.
There you go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This was
Hey, your
good.
brother's here.
Oh, is he? Hey, Jimmy, what's up, bro? What's up, my man? Jimmy from Philly in the house. What's up, man? Let's see. What did I say it was? Yeah, federal agents. Okay. Let me bring it up. All right. So federal agents crush anti-ICE riots in Portland. All right. So-called protests once again descended into chaos in Portland, Oregon on Wednesday night. Something in the water out there. Federal agents were forced to deploy non-lethal musicians to disperse a large crowd of radical protesters attempting to block an immigration and customs enforcement facility. FAFO is what it turned into. The confrontation unfolded outside the ICE building in Macadam Avenue. A masked mob, many donning what is that? Keffia? I don't know. And anti-border slogans attempted to stop government vehicles from entering or exiting the compound. According to footage of, maybe we got to get the National Guard there. According to footage obtained by Turning Point USA's front lines, the scene quickly escalated into a volatile standoff. Let's just watch the video. Where is it? This is good. Watch this.
Officers come around.
See, they're throwing M80s at the cops. And they got to shoot beanbags at them. That's styrofoam the guy's holding up. The whiteboard. Can you believe these idiots are there to stop police from taking violent criminal illegals out of the game?
Federal officers.
Better check my email to make sure I'm not in trouble for playing this.
The vehicles are now leaving safely.
Yeah, but there's some more garbage that's going to happen. Oh well. FAFO.
Somebody here. Unloading glass.
I mean, you throw an M80 at a cop. Come on.
What do you expect?
I know. Especially when they're doing something lawful. Which is a little unusual these days, I admit. I mean, I think an M80 is a quarter stick of dynamite, isn't it?
I don't know.
I think
I
it
probably
is.
should. I probably should know that.
Ah, another FAFO. Wow, did you see that hand up there? Wow, they really got it. Ah, there we go. FAFO.
There's another one.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Look at that. Yeah, she's got the Middle Eastern thing. The cafe. Cop should grab it and blow his nose on it. Oh, there we go. Nuts. I mean, guys, remember the days when they would just try to block cars and shit? right? Now they're throwing quarter sticks of dynamite at police officers.
So they actually had M80s in the crowd?
Oh, well,
Is
yeah.
that what they're saying?
Oh, yeah. There were
Those are-
M80s. They were throwing
That's
M80s
actually-
at police. I've read it.
That's actually M80s?
Yeah, M80s.
That'll do some damage.
Yeah, it's a quarter stick of dynamite. It'll do some damn damage. And they were throwing them out. Then they had smaller fireworks, but I read that they were using M80s because they arrested a few of them, and they pulled them out of their pockets.
The only thing I read was that they were using professional grade fireworks.
Yeah.
Which is basically a whole bunch of black powder.
Yeah, yeah. This is what these guys got to deal with. It's like they're saying, no, we like criminal illegal aliens in our neighborhood. Who do you think you are to take them away? It's amazing. Yeah, what are they, rubber bullets or something? Bean bags, some of them. The ones that look like shotguns, I think they're bean bags that they fire.
There's some sort of less lethal ammo.
Yeah, less lethal. They get to throw M80s. See that? It came down. They get to throw M80s.
Yeah, the only thing I had heard was that they were using
You guys okay?
professional grade fireworks.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that they actually had military grade crap, you know?
Yeah. Oh wow. We got people on Rumble. All right. Let's see, we'll finish it. Look at that. Huh. You could even start firing like Roman candles at it. It can mess you up. Look at this. Palestine to know whatever.
We're now heading right back in. Well, Antifa's here, still on the outskirts.
Yeah, Antifa's there. Oh, I saw one thing of an Antifa. I saw a video today. I can't play it here, but I can describe it. It was the typical scene like that. And there were, all right, Chris, man, thanks for being here. All right, have a good one, brother. Thanks. What's it called? Yeah, and so there was this guy standing there, and this Antifa guy walks up to him, and he goes, "You got to stop videoing like that." And the guy went, "Oh, back up, back up." He smacks him in the face so hard that his head turned. Then he just did a side kick, and just the guy right in the solar plexus, and he went down. Then he's like, "Bye," and he and his buddies walked away. And in the video, the other guy goes, "Well, thanks for defending me there because I saw he pulled a knife," and they both started laughing. It was pretty hilarious. But the Antifa guy just got knocked down. It was brilliant. But I can't play it because I might get in trouble.
Two of these.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see what else.
Oh, your list is full of good feel-good stuff. What about the DNC is weak?
The DNC is weaker than I've ever seen it. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a feel-good story. I know. The Democratic National Committee is weaker than I've ever seen it. Democrats slam weak and whiny DNC chair. Yeah, they got rid of him too. As Trump continues to steamroll.
Wait, did they get rid of the chair? I know they got rid of the vice chairs.
Right. I think they just got rid of him too. Let's go through it. I think I read that. Democrats are becoming increasingly frustrated over Democratic National Committee Chairman Ken Martin's leadership and worsening infighting in the committee, Politico reported on Thursday. This is Daily Caller. One anonymous, it's from Uncanceled News. One anonymous DNC member told Politico they believe Martin, who was elected to the role in February, is weak and whiny. That's pretty funny. Hang on. Is weak and whiny. Meanwhile, another anonymous DNC member told, how they're all anonymous, big men, told the outlet that the DNC chairman has been invisible, adding that his early tenure has been disappointing. Rahm Deadfish Emanuel, who served as a White House chief of staff to former President Barack Hussein Milhouse Benito Obama, told Politico he thinks the DNC has turned into a firing squad in a circle. Well, he's right. Emanuel, who is reportedly considering a presidential bid in 2028, has previously criticized the Democratic Party as being too weak and woke. We're in the most serious existential crisis with Donald Trump, both at home and abroad. See, they make statements like this, and I want to know, where do they come up with that? And with the biggest political opportunity in a decade, like, how do they come up with that? At home, we're in a serious. The only thing I can think is because they are the recipients of the criminality that goes on. They get power and money from like all the shit that was shut down with USAID, all the NGOs and all that. So that when they say that, it's got to be an existential crisis. Yeah, because he's taken away your money, which is not really your money, and you spend it on things that are fighting the United States. And the DSC.
It's a crisis, Rich. My congressman can't buy his second Ferrari.
There you go. There you go. And the DNC has spent 6 months on a firing squad in a circle and can't even fire a shot out, Emmanuel added. And Trump's world is a target-rich environment. Oh, of course. David Hogg, Noodle Arms, a gun control activist who was elected to serve as one of the DNC's vice chairs in February, drew fire from other Democrats after he announced plans in April to primary some incumbent Democratic lawmakers. All right, they told him that they wanted to get younger people into the party. I think he misread that, because they meant get younger people to vote and join the party, not become politicians. And this dumbass made the insistence that they should get rid of these old timers that don't understand anything about young people who just want to go out and get laid and have fun. He said it, and I didn't. And so he's saying that they're going to oust him and bring young people into the leadership roles. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was political suicide. Additionally, in June 8, leaked audio revealed that Martin expressed concern about Hogg's ability to lead the party due to the infighting his decisions had ignited, according to Politico. Well, of course, earlier in June, the utterly worthless Randy Weingarten, the longtime head of the American Federation of Teachers and fellow union president Lee Saunders of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, there's a title, get that on a card with your name, announced that they were quitting the DNC, New York Times reported on Sunday. Boy, they're a mess. Another anonymous Democratic strategist told Politico that the DNC has become weaker than they have ever seen it. The DNC is weaker than I've ever seen it. They have shown zero ability to chart a post-24 vision for Democrats, the anonymous Democratic strategist told the outlet. The longtime leaders of the teachers and state and local employee unions couldn't in good faith continue to rubber stamp what was going on within the DNC. Some DNC officials are reportedly considering borrowing money to continue paying the bills following a decline in big donate. Yeah, you know why? Because you guys are a bunch of Jacobins. That's why. Additionally, Democratic Rep Ro Khanna wrote in an X post that he wants to build a party with a big tent and inclusion, not subtraction and pushing people out. I ran and won the race for DNC chair to get the DNC out of DC. That's a good idea, actually, because too many people in DC want to point fingers and play the blame game, Martin said in a statement to Politico. That he's still talking to Politico, so there he hasn't learned that much. They want to win irrelevant arguments with no strategy involved, but the one strategic thing that makes us relevant is winning elections. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I was elected chair to help our party win again, and we are. Yeah. Okay. It's good to have dreams. What do you think? You see, what do we
I would call them delusions most of the time, but dreams is another word.
So. Oh yeah, I think so too. Let's see, what else is there? Corporate sponsors. Here's one. And this is by HuffPo, of all things. Ready? Corporate sponsors pull support for Juneteenth celebrations. Canceled federal grants and businesses moving away from so-called brand activism because the trans stuff and the BLM stuff forced them to join the left, and they lost all their consumers because the American people overall don't go for that shit. Activism have hit the bottom line of events marking the end of slavery in the U.S. Did you hear Trump recently said when they asked him about Juneteenth, and he said, there's just too many non-paid holidays in America right now. They all lost
paid
their minds.
holidays,
Yeah.
paid holidays.
Well, paid holidays. Yeah. They all lost their minds, right?
Yep.
Juneteenth celebrations have been scaled back this year due to funding shortfalls. Let me increase it.
Okay. So if we got June 19th, what about St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, we don't even have, we used to have individual President's Day, Washington and Lincoln.
Yep.
Right now it's President's Day.
Yeah.
Right. Juneteenth celebrations have been, and you know what? Here's the thing too. Okay. The problem with these kinds of celebrations, if you will, these holidays, they always get out of control. Like, for example, like think about it. Cinco de Mayo. Mexico doesn't celebrate that, right? Cinco de Mayo, at the 5th of May, they just don't. They're like, what are you crazy? It's a beer holiday. It was created by Budweiser, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of do, but
No, they
I
don't.
was speaking to somebody and he said no. I forget what he said. I think there's a date in September.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, but Cinco de Mayo, they don't celebrate that in Mexico.
But yeah, they really don't, I guess.
Right. But it became a commercialized thing here. So they always, so what's Juneteenth going to do? Well, what they did is, now think about this. You ready? I was listening to, who was I listening to? No. Somebody on talk radio. He was basically pointing out, it was Wilkow, Andrew Wilkow on Sirius XM Patriot. He was saying that there was a company, and who the hell was it? It was a food company. Damn it. Can't remember. But they said that they were going to bake cakes for Juneteenth, right? Special cakes for Juneteenth. And so the Juneteenth mob said, that's cultural appropriation. You can't do that. And so the guy pointed out, he goes, okay, so if you don't do anything for Juneteenth, then you're a racist because you didn't recognize it. But when you do and you say, we're going to make cakes, Juneteenth cakes, now it's cultural appropriation. So you can't win either way with these idiots. So when Trump heard that, he's like, we got too many paid holidays in this country. And so they went nuts. Oh, he's a racist. They lost their minds. Okay. So there we go. Canceled federal grants and businesses moving away from so-called brand activism have hit the bottom line of parades and other events heading into Thursday's federal holiday, which celebrates the end of slavery in the United States. The shrinking financial support coincides with many companies severing ties with LGBTQ celebrations for Pride this year and President Donald Trump's efforts to quash DEI programs throughout the federal government. Look at this. Juneteenth celebration rally, liberation rally. Okay. So they're going to try and force you. And see, they got the fist there. Communists, right? In Denver, for example, oh, there we go, local. In Denver, for example, more than a dozen companies backed out of supporting the Juneteenth Music Festival, which is one of the city's biggest celebrations of the holiday, according to Norman Harris, executive director of JMF Corporation, which puts on the event. There were quite a few sponsors who pulled back their investments or let us know they couldn't or wouldn't be in a position to support this year. Oof. The festival, which takes place in the historically Black Five Points neighborhood, has been scaled back to 1 day instead of 2 because of the budget shortfall. It has only, and see, they'll say, it's because you're racist. No, it's a budget shortfall. It has only been able to stay afloat thanks to donations from individuals and foundations. Well, there you go. You get enough people that donated that you can keep it around, right? Thankfully, there was a wide range of support that came when we made the announcement that the celebration is in jeopardy. Well, that's America, right? You lose money. Like I remember the Mummers Parade in Philadelphia, which is a big thing in Philly, right? I remember when it was Wilson Good. He and the Emperor of Japan are the only two people that bombed an American city. Anyway, so Wilson Good cut all the funding for the Mummers pretty much because it was a white thing. Like, there weren't a lot of black mummers, right? There were some. Anybody was welcome, right? But he didn't like it, so he canceled it. Like what was it, 60 years of it, and he just canceled it. So what happened was a boatload of organizations and groups around Philly and Pennsylvania, really, they just donated and they kept it live, and it's still on to this day. Juneteenth celebrates the day the last enslaved people and that's the thing. it was a Texas holiday, and there are certain things you did on that holiday. One had to do with barbecue, believe it or not. Okay, you purchased a gun. I forget what they called it, but you purchased a gun that was specifically to be used on Juneteenth, and you wore the gun on the outside, open carry, to a barbecue. Seriously, and people go, "Well, that's kind of crazy." Well, no, it was a thing that started in Texas. There was a bunch of other stuff too, but then it just got crazy, right? It just went nuts. So Juneteenth celebrates the last day and the last enslaved people in Texas who were told they were free on June 19th, 1865, 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which freed no one, by the way. The day has been celebrated by Black Americans for generations, including in Harris's family, but became more widely celebrated after becoming a federal holiday in 2021, which is fine, I guess. After the 2020 murder of St. George Floyd, many companies pursued efforts to make their branding more inclusive. Right, capitalism. But it has slowed down over the past few years after some received blowback from conservatives and because many companies didn't see it as an important part of their revenue stream, said Dion Nickerson, a professor in marketing at Emory University. Some companies can no longer afford to support Juneteenth celebrations because they just don't have the money given the economic uncertainty, according to Sonia Greer, a marketing professor at American University. I don't believe that at all. Unless you're an anti-American company, I don't see how you're looking at the future after Trump got in with what he's done already and say, "Oh, we won't be able to afford that in a couple of years." It's a whole confluence of issues. Many state and local governments hold or help fund celebrations, but some decided not to this year. The governor's office in West Virginia stated that the state won't be hosting any Juneteenth events this year for the first time since 2017 due to a budget deficit. Republican Governor Patrick Morrisey last month signed a bill to end all diversity programs. Quote, due to the continued fiscal challenges facing West Virginia, state government will not be sponsoring any formal activity. So in other words, DEI and all that crap, they're losing because they people wanted to be loved by the left for a few years, and I guess it worked for them, until the whole Bud Light thing came out, and
and now they're just entitled.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
exactly
okay,
right.
Well, you can have your day, but okay, what do you mean now? We have to give you money to do it.
Oh yeah, I know.
How is that?
I know.
It's entitlement. So
yeah, they didn't pick your trash up because of it. Well, they'll pick it up tomorrow or whatever. Oh, it's 42 here. Hey, what's up, 42? How you doing, man? Good to see you. No surrender. Let me see. There he is. Have you seen those guys in action? Bacon med skills. We heard great things. Cool. Let's see. Democrats tried including greater numbers of inner city black children into swimming sports and was quickly defunded, and no stories written about it after there was mass drownings. Oh man, I hope that's not true. You got to know how to swim if you want to swim. Oh, geez. Good Lord. Hey, 42 every single Saturday. You guys check him out. I love his stream. I may be there tomorrow, just checking you guys out, and I will definitely be there the last week. Thanks for the invite. That is, I believe, next Saturday. Yeah. So I'm promoting that as much as I can.
Actually, here's a story we should look at. Amazon to reduce.
I look forward to it, brother. What's that? I'm sorry.
I say here's a story we should look at. Amazon to reduce workforce.
Yep. Yeah, because of AI.
Yeah, I mean, we need to be talking about that.
I know, but you got to love it because there were 25,000 jobs in New York City that AOC, the progressive nut job, lost for them because she was hanging out with Bernie. Amazon to reduce workforce as AI displaces humans. That reminds me, up in Boston, Boston near the harbor. Well, they were up there and they were like fast food workers, right? In the burger joints. They wanted $16 an hour, right? And so they're all around there yelling at whatever it was, 18, 15, whatever. And so their answer to it was, okay, we made a decision. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in RoboBurger. We don't need you guys anymore. Goodbye. So they replaced them with the machines that you just tap out your order, and they got a couple people still working in the back. One person cleans the front, and they got a manager. You gotta love it, man. So I guess this is the same thing. Amazon
and exactly is who is surprised by that outcome?
Yeah, exactly. So let's read this. Amazon is the canary in the coal mine, the bellwether of AI adoption. Exactly. Current employees have been put on notice that Amazon will continue to use AI at every turn to displace human workers. Now, we knew this would happen. Since 2015, the ratio of human workers to robots has decreased from 7.7 to 2.1. Robot growth since 2014 exceeds 750%. So Amazon is warning its employees that artificial intelligence will help the company have a smaller workforce in the future. There you go. Years ago, I used to go into some Facebook groups with the libnuts, and they were and what they were discussing back then was that when AI takes over like everybody's job, they were saying, so then I guess what we really have to figure out is on the basic income that they always talked about. That's what they mean by that. They said, if AI takes over your like all the jobs, well, you have to eat, you have to pay bills, right? So there's going to be a universal basic income that these companies that have AI doing are going to have to pay into for. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, wait a minute, guys. So you're saying that a corporation who brought in robots and AI to displace their workers because the AI robots, they never get sick, they don't call out, they don't take vacation, they don't get tired, right? They don't bitch and complain, they don't demand higher wages and more benefits and all that happy horse shit. So what makes you think that if they're replacing those people that they're going to continue paying people? And I got booted out. They kicked me out.
They have to pay workers that they don't hire.
Yeah, exactly. In a blog post Tuesday that was sent out earlier to employees, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said that efficiency gains from AI would allow the company to eventually have a reduced human workforce. Duh. Quote, as we roll out more generative AI and agents, it should change the way our work is done. We will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today and more people doing other types of jobs, he wrote. Exactly. Like guys, the horse and buggy industry, right? When automobiles came along, they said, oh my God, they destroyed the horse and buggy. Yeah, but those people in the horse and buggy industry, a lot of them got other jobs, and a lot of them got jobs in the automobile industry. All right. It's like when the digital cameras came out and Kodak, they said, holy shit, we got this problem with our Polaroids. They're coming out with these digital cameras. We don't need, any kind of film anymore. Oh no, what are we going to do? Well, then they got smart and they created a digital camera and an entire division for digital cameras. It's simple. A lot of people are not going to get jobs, but there's people who will be displaced, but they can move into another field or something. It just happens. It's not like AI is the first time this has happened.
Yeah, if we don't advance, we'd still be, thanks to Eli Whitney. Other than that, we'd be still picking cotton by hand.
Well, there you go. And who wants to be a cotton picking handler?
There you
see
go.
what I did there? It's hard to know. It's hard to know.
That.
It's hard to know exactly where this nets out over time. But in the next few years, we expect that this will reduce our total corporate workforce as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively across the company. It's exactly right. Because if a robot can do it, AI won't just affect change at Amazon, Jassy said. AI will change how we all work and live, including billions of AI agents across every company and in every imaginable field. However, much of this remains speculative. Now, they're talking about AI, right? They're not talking about the chat bots and the stuff like that. They're talking about the robots. and a robot doesn't have to be, with the arms and the legs and looking like a human. I mean, like I said, the Robo Burger was just that computer screen where you tap out everything you want to eat. And then the people and the humans in the back. And some places are totally AI. They even the machines are making your food. I don't know if I want food that machines are making, but whatever.
Probably could do a good job.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess.
And you don't get like grubby germ-filled hands on your hamburger.
Yeah. Many of these agents have yet to be built, but make no mistake, they're coming and coming fast. That is so true. So and see, they try, like the people that are against this try to say it's going to happen in every industry. No, it isn't. A lot of industries, yeah, but not in every industry. It can't. We've had machines on. If you think about it, they've been on the assembly line building cars, but you have humans that are in there taking the parts that the machines are grinding down and making shit. You've seen them, right? And the bottling things, you see all the bottling coming through and it fills it and shit. That's kind of like AI. It's not AI because it can't learn, but humans used to do that job as well, right? I tell people, I'm like, you know what? Like AI could be a useful tool, but there's going to be some industries that are going to lose jobs. They definitely are. So you got to think, okay, so what are we going to do with those people? That's something we really do have to talk about. And we have to think of, like, what's going to happen when you have whole sectors of people that are going to lose their jobs, right? So we're done with that topic. We got 9 minutes, so let's get to something else.
I see one here that I thought was interesting. Where is it?
Hold on. What happened? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. We have something here. Streaky Bacon, you got booted for saying I was a C word, and you were done with me. All I am doing, I remembered. I was there, holding you to your drunk words. Oh, this is going to be good. You guys want to come on and hack it out here? Hey, what I said to you is happening. The North and South will unite because they are the force to destroy your country. Okay. Let's see. Our problem uncovered by AI is that so many people are artificially intelligent, repeating talking points, but no true wisdom, knowledge, or insight, except for here, right? I mean, we all are beyond that kind of thing, right?
You know what's the difference between intelligence and wisdom? Intelligence is knowing that a tomato is a fruit.
Right.
Wisdom is not putting a tomato in your fruit salad.
Exactly. That is pretty good. I like that. I'm going to use that. I'm stealing that. You all heard that, right?
He's a thief.
Oh, wait a minute. What's this? What's this now? I might not be able to see you. I've screenshot your comment. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too, Sheila. Me too. I'd like to see humans working, but you know what? They could literally say like this, like Amazon. It seems like they're openly saying we're trying to get rid of humans. Instead of saying we want to get more efficient. I mean, there's ways you say it and ways you say it. We want to get more efficient, and we learned that if we get rid of the dumbbell humans that we've been hiring, right, then we'll get more efficient with AI. But
things always change.
Yes.
Exactly. when we built cars, the buggy industry went out of business.
Right.
And so yeah.
Whoa. All right. We could do another couple. Let's see.
I saw one here. Where is it? Border Patrol found a massive tunnel.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right. Let's do that. From Tijuana to the U.S. They always had these tunnels, though. But the Border Patrol usually doesn't find them.
We know there's lots of tunnels.
I like National Pulse because you don't have to read the whole story. They give it to you up here. All right. So Border Patrol found a massive tunnel from Tijuana to the U.S. And what do you think they're doing with that? What happened? Border Patrol agents discovered a sophisticated cross-border smuggling tunnel connecting California to Tijuana, Mexico. Who was involved? U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP, U.S. Immigration and Customs, ICE, Homeland Security, and Mexican law enforcement officials. When and where? The tunnel was discovered in April under the Otay Mesa port of entry in San Diego. With its entrance in Mexico, finally discovered earlier this week. Key quote, as we continue to strengthen the nation's air and maritime border security, it's not surprising that foreign terrorist organizations will resort to underground routes. Now, who do you think those foreign terrorists were? Can you say Hamas? Think about that. They've been digging tunnels since they've been around to try to get into Israel and other countries as well. Impact. The discovery highlights ongoing dangers to the U.S. at the southern border and the Trump administration's efforts to crack down on them. So there you go. National Pulse. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very. Yeah, because they don't have to think about it. They get over the border without having to smuggle themselves over the border, right?
Oh, and
Pretty
then there's
smart if you
something
think
here
about
about Judge Boasberg.
Oh, Boasberg?
Yeah. It's a fourth from the bottom.
He just got nuked. Yeah. Yeah, they nuked his ass. Let's pull it up. This is the judge everybody loves to hate. Yeah, it says it right there. The left's favorite activist judge just got nuked. It's this a-hole. So it says, activist judge Jeb Boasberg is pretty familiar with controversy. After all, he's been trying to sabotage President Trump's America First efforts from his bench outside of his district, which shouldn't be allowed. Boasberg's made it his personal mission to screw up President Trump's immigration policy, especially when it comes to removing violent criminals and foreign national gangbangers, which leads us to his most brazen move when he tried to block Trump's lawful deportation of Venezuelan nationals tied to Tren de Aragua, one of the most dangerous and sadistic transnational gangs in the Western Hemisphere. Boasberg tried to portray these violent illegals as innocent victims, even getting all poetic in a court opinion that sounded more like a theatrical monologue than an actual legal ruling. He framed the situation using this dramatic Kafka quote as if gang members being booted out of our country was some dystopian tragedy. Right on cue, the left lapped it up. But the higher courts, not so much. This week, Boasberg's activist fantasy came crashing down. See, the thing is, these freaking judges know that they're eventually going to lose, which is why I say then they should be booted off the bench. If they do things just to slow down an administration, because it takes how many months does it take for to get to the Supreme Court, at least to a appellate court, but then to the Supreme Court, it's like 18-month average. Right, unless the president invokes, I forget what it is, but he can invoke something that gets him there quicker if they accept it, right? Which they did recently, as a matter of fact. A three-judge panel from the D.C. Circuit Court, all Trump appointees, by the way, just nuked Boasberg's latest attempt to delay deportations. They issued a stay on his June 4th order that would have granted partial relief to illegal Venezuelans. Now, why would a judge do that, including class certification and a preliminary injunction? Really? The appellate court's ruling puts that entire order on ice, pun intended, while the appeal moves forward. In very plain terms, Boasberg's attempt to hand due process rights to violent foreigners has been stopped cold. Boasberg has a habit of landing right in the center of left-wing political firestorms. We recently ran a story exposing his ties to the shady January 6th figure Ray Epps. We all know that. So, yeah, look at him. The D.C. District Chief Judge Boasberg gives Ray Epps a walk. That's right. He gave him a year of probation. And they throw people in prison for 10 years because they entered the building when the cops opened the door. But Ray Epps, who's caught multiple times on different cameras all over YouTube, by the way, saying, no, we got to storm the building. We're going to go in the building. Get in the building. And then we find out that Boasberg lets him off because he was more than likely an informant for the FBI. Judge Boasberg.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, not only did we finally give some of these J6 individuals time in jail, but they spent like 2 or 3 years, some of them as political prisoners without ever seeing a judge.
They weren't allowed to talk to their lawyers for like 18 months.
Yeah.
And they got brown water coming out of this of the faucets where they are, but no other what do they call them? No other pods in the prison have that.
And
right.
And
the guy who had cancer, and they did not allow him to take his cancer drugs. They'll pay for a fucking tranny conversion, right? But a surgery, but they won't allow a guy with cancer to get his drugs. He bought them. They won't allow him to take them. There's something evil about that.
Yeah, just these people are whack.
Judge Boasberg also happens to be the judge that gave Kevin Kleinsmith a free pass. Kleinsmith was the lawyer. He was the federal lawyer, DOJ lawyer. And he lied about things on the Russian collusion hoax to obtain a FISA warrant. He's the guy that allowed lies to go in. You can't do that, right? He should have at least lost his job, which he did. They got rid of him. But he should have gone to prison for that, because anybody else would have gone to prison for that. But because it was Trump, this judge is an absolute disgrace. He's a wuss. He's a wimp. But all this is part of a bigger pattern and plan. The left has been stacking the lower courts with activist judges like Boasberg, who treat illegal aliens, Antifa rioters, and trans militants as a sacred political class. But one by one, those rulings are getting tossed out as they climb up the judicial ladder. Just this year, we've seen multiple appellate courts side with Trump's agenda. And you know what it is? It's not Trump's agenda that they're siding with. They're siding with an agenda that is constitutional. There's a big difference. The Fifth Circuit upheld Texas's right to arrest and remove illegals, undercutting Biden's DHS catch and release scam, which is what Obama did. A federal appeal. I love how they say, well, Obama deported more than men. No, he didn't. Obama, you know what Obama was doing for deportations? When you got caught at the border, trying to cross the border, they caught you, they took your name, took your picture, and said, turn around and go that way. Deportation. They called it a deportation. There was no hearing. You're deported when you get a final notice of deportation, which means you have exhausted all of the process through court. But it was like more than 80% of his deportations were that. They turned him around at the border. It's bullshit. A federal appeals court ruled that Biden's censorship collusion with big tech during the 2020 election likely violated the First Amendment, something Trump and his allies have been screaming about for years. And now the D.C. appellate court has blocked Boasberg's open border stunt. This is what it looks like when the system slowly corrects itself, but only because we've got the right judges in the right seats. See, that's the thing. When Democrat judges or when Democrat presidents put judges on courts, it's to violate the Constitution to allow their agenda, which is anti-Constitution, anti-American, to get through. But when Republicans, for the most part, put someone on the court, they put him there to uphold the Constitution, which is why it's so important that we elect a right-wing president, a Republican president, because think about this. These judges, the shit that they're doing to this country over ideology, TDS. It's sad, but the U.S. justice system has become a game of chess. That's right. Julie Kelly, who's awesome on the J6 stuff. She wrote a book called January 6th. Another strikeout for Jeb Boasberg. 3-judge panel, all Trump employees. Yeah, she points it out as well. So good. And you know what? He's probably laughing. He's sleeping well because he's like, well, you know what? Mission accomplished.
Yeah, no, he did what he wanted to do. The process is the punishment.
Wow. I was not drunk when you banned me. Since my prior views. Yikes. All right, we'll do one more because it's after 9. Let's pick.
It's getting late. You want to do one more? I can hang out for one more.
Yeah, let's see. Iran to retaliate a strike. Why is China? Get a load of this. Texas just fired the. Oh yeah. This is a good one, guys. So watch this. This is good. This is not the B. So it's get a load of this. Texas town that just fired its last police officer 1 month after arresting its mayor. Gotta love
That's
it, right?
funny.
Yeah.
That's going to be funny.
You may have thought that the whole defund the police movement was long gone, but one Texas town not only arrested its mayor last month, but also just fired its last remaining police officer. Wow. So that's Hawkins, Texas, not Hawkins, Indiana. the fictional setting of Stranger Things. Love it. But it's still a strange thing for a town to get rid of all of its police officers. According to the New York Post, the officers' firing was just the latest in a long line of upheaval in the town's leadership and law enforcement. Lieutenant Eric Tuma was terminated from the Hawkins Police Department Monday on grounds of dereliction of sworn duties and abandonment of post in a split 3-2 Hawkins City Council vote that was celebrated by controversial Mayor Deborah Lynn Rushing. Rushing herself was already in hot water after a scandal erupted under her leadership. This was the first city council meeting since May when Rushing was arrested and booked on tampering with government records charges for allegedly secretly recording conversations with city officials and not making them available to the public. Rushing had previously made an unsuccessful attempt to disband the police department. So if there are any criminals out there looking for some easy scores, you might want to head to Hawkins, Texas. Exactly. Unbelievable.
Amazing.
It truly is.
Okay, Rich.
All right, guys. Let me see. So do me a favor and hit that like button if you haven't already. I would really appreciate it. Oops, I think I did already. Let me see how many we got right now. 23. Nice.
Looks like, oh, I have 24.
Oh, okay. Wow. I have 23.
We were up to 30 or 31 at one point.
Oh, wow. All right, Lou, man. Thanks for being here. Hey, everybody. Everybody, thank you very, very much for being here. Yeah, have a great week, everyone. I know it got kind of weird.
Have a good week. Come back. Bring a friend.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Start bringing friends, please. We could double everything. We could double the fun here.
If everybody brought one friend.
Yeah, if everybody brought a friend. Yeah. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much for being here. I had a blast. Hope you did too. See you guys. See everybody. See you, Gina. See you, Pam. See you, Linda. See you, Jeremiah. See you, Streaky. Be good. See you, Lou. See you, Sheila. God love you all. See you, 42. See you next week, by the way. I'll look for that email, brother. Let me see who else is still here. Special K. See you, brother. See you, Sheila. I think I said Sheila already. Linda. See you, girlfriend. Let me see. Anybody else? Who else? Who else? Jeremiah. I'm repeating people now. Sorry. All right, guys. We are out of here. Thank you. Watch my videos this week, please. Bring a friend next week. Thanks. Hit the like button if you haven't already. It helps. All right, we're out.